Good evening. I will call to order tonight's meeting of the Evanston Preservation Commission. We have a quorum present. And I also want to take a moment to celebrate Preservation Month, which takes place during the month of May. And this year also takes on new meaning. It is the 50th anniversary of the National Historic Preservation Act. And this year, the United States marks its 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. In addition to the approaching 250th anniversary, we are celebrating the 100th anniversary of Route 66, the 60th anniversary of the National Historic Preservation Act, and the 50th anniversary of the Historic Preservation Fund. As the National Trust for Historic Places recently said, historic places are not only reminders of the past, but they are also economic drivers, community anchors, and powerful storytellers that connect Americans to the full history of our country. Here in Evanston, we have an opportunity to celebrate a wider perspective on historic preservation, which, in addition to built heritage, includes living heritage, the arts, intangible cultural heritage, and less tangible stories and histories. The Preservation Commission is seeking award nominations for Evanston-focused individuals or groups who embody, safeguard, or advance significant themes within the broader field of historic preservation and heritage conservation, including research, education and advocacy, equity, design, climate resilience and stewardship, and art. And so call for the nominations for the Cultural Heritage Awards will be released soon. The Preservation Ordinance empowers this body to safeguard our city's historic and cultural heritage and to oversee and administer our community's historic preservation program. The Commission is tasked with identifying and preserving historic, cultural, and architectural resources. And during our monthly meetings, we encourage public participation, afford due process through public hearings on proposed landmark designations, as well as reviewing and making determinations on applications for certificates of appropriateness. Also, we are empowered to review and provide comments on any proposal that affects significant historic resources or historic resources deemed eligible for designation. And so with that, I will ask, do you want to do virtual first or in person first? Okay, well, we'll start with in person. If anyone is here to provide public comment on items for the agenda listed under discussion. So you can come up to the podium, please, and sign in. There should be a sign-in sheet. No. State your name for the record, please.
I wanted to talk a little bit about I'm Paul Breslin, First Ward. I taught at Northwestern for 37 years. I am also, as of this May, a 50-year resident of Evanston. And while it was an honor and privilege to serve as a faculty member and have brilliant colleagues and students, I am also a resident, and the way Northwestern behaves toward the community I am less enthusiastic about. I understand that the university wants to build on the landfill by the Lakefront Park where they have it open right now. And I understand, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that they do not formally own that land. They have tax-free status because they're a not-for-profit organization. So either they should be paying taxes or they should behave like a nonprofit organization. I am similarly not pleased by the idea of having a professional team play in the university's stadium. This is that is a for-profit enterprise, and the stadium was supposed to be for Northwestern athletes to perform. So while I remain highly impressed with the academic side of Northwestern and still friends with a number of my colleagues, it's becoming a little bit of an octopus, and I think it needs to be restrained. And I urge you to enforce the Lakefront Protection Ordinance and tell them, you want to pay or you want to build or do you want to stop? and that should be the deal. So that's basically what I came here to talk about. I've also seen the houses that would, next to the Ebenezer Church, that are there at present, and they're not masterpieces, but they're competently designed buildings that look okay to me. And I have it by word of mouth that what's being proposed is from a developer that has a record of putting up very cheap, unattractive buildings. If that's true, then I would like to see some hard questions asked of them. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Okay, thank you. Please.
Hello. Thank you for all you're doing. I'm Leslie Shadd. I'm from 1110 Judson Avenue in Evanston for about 30 years. And I'm also chair of Climate Action Evanston, and I am lead of Natural Habitat Evanston. And I just want to speak in support of the Lakefront Preservation Ordinance. It doesn't stop sales, leases, or development, but it establishes some standards, and I hope that that's a good beginning. So I just am hopeful that this gets a warm reception. Thank you so much for everything that you're doing.
Thank you. Ms. Rosinski. Hi.
Hi, my name's Mary Rosinski. Thank you. I also am in support of the preservation ordinance for the lakefront protection. That is one of our, as you all know, such an important natural resource we have, and we're fortunate to have all this water around. There has been talk that I heard over the years, and I'm sure you have too, about wanting it to be more commercial, wanting to have more building, wanting to have this. But we don't have a lot of green space on our lakefront. We have a very narrow lakefront space for the public when you consider going up and down, north and south of us. So I would really encourage you to do whatever you can to preserve the beautiful natural state of the lakefront that we do have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else in person for public comment for discussion items? Okay, so we can move to, I think we have two people in the virtual. Pastor Scott, are you ready for your public comment?
Hello.
Hi, we can hear you.
All right. I am Deborah Scott. I'm the pastor of Ebenezer AME Church, 1109 Emerson. And I want to thank you for allowing us to be put on the agenda for tonight. As you know, there is a proposal to build next to the church, 1103 and 1105. And so we've talked with the property owners. We're working to finish our good neighbor agreement, but just wanted to make sure that we are doing our due diligence with regard to our historic landmark status. I want to make sure that we are doing everything that we need to do to protect and maintain our property. One of the items we did mention in the good neighbor agreement was monitoring the vibration throughout the construction project. And so we're sort of at a loss as to what else we need to ask for or to look for. And so I guess that is where we are depending upon your knowledge and your expertise to perhaps ask the questions, perhaps help us to ensure that we are doing all that we can do to preserve the historic landmark that is Ebenezer AME Church.
All right, thank you. And Ms. Payton, are you? Yes.
Yes, I'm here. My name is Renee Hayden. I'm at 1122 Emerson Street, across the street from the church. And I'll just read my statement for expediency. This development is too large not to have a damaging impact on Ebenezer AME Church. With only 4 units, there have already been problems for the church with trash and unauthorized parking. The proposed development with heavy construction alone could do major damage to the building, especially the stained glass windows, with vibration, projectiles, and dust, and all of that. Not to mention the tremendous increase in population to the small space that's allotted only for 12 units, I believe, as opposed to 30. So that could be over 100 people that's added to that small space. The insufficiency of parking next to the building will entice tenants or their guests to park in the church parking lot. The insufficiency of garbage receptacles will cause overflow, which most likely will affect the church. And the proposed development is too dense for the neighborhood with insufficient resident services and facilities. This commission should take its time to go over the issues and not rush into a conclusion. As you know, preservation takes time, and ditto to everyone who was in person and talking about the beach. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Connolly, do you want to provide public comment?
Yes, thank you. Hi, Tricia Conley. I'm in the 2nd Ward. I want to acknowledge and thank Council members Kelly, Isles, and Davis for bringing the Lakefront Protection Plan forward to you all tonight. This is an important plan. I know there's been a lot of time and energy spent to try and get it right and to add details that are important to protect our lakefront for the public, and that includes everybody's use of the lakefront. It's going to be important that we keep our lakefront as protected environmentally and as a public space for all. So I look forward to you folks deliberating on this tonight. And I do want to say, another big issue before you tonight is the Ebenezer Church and new development next door. And I hope you will, if you can, put some things in place, expectations of the new developer, if there's damages, that they are going to take care of what needs to be taken care of. Again, I am not an advocate of this idea that we have to get double density on everything and that to get the developers to come to this town, that is a requirement. I do not believe that, and I think it's upon our elected leaders to push up against that and ask for what we want, and as a community, what we all can live with decently here. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else on virtual attendance who wants to provide public comment? Mr. O'Brien, do you want to? Or are you just here to listen? All right. Okay.
I apologize. Did you call on me?
Yes. Do you want to give public comment?
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Yeah, I had trouble coming off mute. I also urge strongly in support of this preservation ordinance. I have been a Northwestern faculty member for 15 years, like the first speaker, and have seen many ways that the university has not engaged responsibly around community, and I think it's extremely important to prevent this overreach by the university. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Did someone else? All right, I'll give her some time. Ms. Sullivan, do you want to provide public comment tonight? is your audio connected, or can you?
Ms. Sullivan, can you unmute yourself?
Ms. Sullivan, if you can at a later time connect, we'll accept your public comment, but we're going to move forward with the agenda. So the first item on the agenda is old business, 26 Pres 0019, 1432 Asbury. If the ready to present, you can come to the podium and
Kate, are you going to walk through things a little bit? If you could get to a 3.5, that might be a good starting point. There it is. These are two new renderings, and in this rendering, you can get a little sense of perspective on the fact that what we've done now is changed the awning vendor, so we're able to drop the eaves on the addition about 8 inches, so it's tighter to the windows, and it gives us a little bit more room over the top to come in underneath the windows. And in this view, you can see a little bit of the context to the neighbor. And then the next rendering, can you put the next one up, Kate? There, you can see that it's a very good grouping of houses, and you can see how our addition wraps around the side. Gives you a better look at the stairs coming down as well. So we've made adjustments at the trims underneath the deck, and so everything's coming into line in terms of matching the color palette of the existing house, both in the white and the gray stucco. The door is now sympathetic to the entry door, and I can add that to the package if you want to. I have a picture of the front of the house, Kate. But that's our grouping. We've taken out the trims over the top of the triple windows, and then everything we're doing now is very much in line with the detailing on the house. So I feel like we are come together pretty well on this.
all right, thank you. Any questions from commissioners? Do you have a question about the column, or no?
I don't have a question. I just wanted to thank you for doing this updated rendering, because this was
Sure.
really helpful to get a sense of the vision for this.
Yeah,
Thank you very much for redoing that.
happy to do it.
So any other questions, or if not, we can enter into deliberation. Thank you for your
Okay.
presentation. All right, so any comments from commissioners on the updated application?
Go ahead, John.
Oh,
So no objections. I think that the changes that he made were nice, and it satisfied all my objections. And I really like the canopy over the back door now that it's not competing with the other arch. It's very nice.
That's verbatim what I was going to say. It looks good. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I agree as well.
yeah, I think that this is an improvement on the design, and overall it cohesively works together, and I think it was an improvement. So thank you for that, taking our comments and suggestions into consideration. So I think, do we have any other comments from commissioners? If not, I can entertain a motion for, or Stuart, do you?
Yeah, it doesn't show up in your renderings, but
There's a side entrance and a stair coming down, and I think the drawn elevations show the little roof over that stair held up by a single column. Can you find that side elevation that shows that? It's kind of I think it's a unique condition to the house, and I wanted to ask you, yeah, can you blow that up? I wanted to ask you about that column. What is it?
It's a 6x6.
Just a 6x6 post?
Yep.
Okay.
Does that answer your question? Okay. All right. So, does anyone have a motion, want to make a motion to approve this application?
I'll do it.
Okay.
I would like to move start again. 26 Pres 0019, 1432 Asbury Avenue, Ridge Historic District. I would like to move that we grant a certificate of appropriateness to alter the structure's south and west elevations to construct a new single-story addition and open deck at the structure's rear volume, applicable standards alteration 1 through 10, and construction 1 through 8, 10 through 13, and 15.
Is there a second? Okay, Commissioner Smith. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, passes unanimously. Thank you. So then go on to new business, application 26 Pres 0032, 1719 Asbury Avenue, and Commissioner Allman will be recusing himself for this.
Good evening. My name is Natalia Sliarska. I'm a project manager designer at Studio Tower Architecture. As you know, the 1719 Asbury is located at the Ridge Historic District. So the style of this home, it's a free classic subtype of a Queen Anne style. So the proposed work would be to remove the existing stone stoop, stairs, and retaining walls that are in bad conditions that would need to be repaired. We believe that originally the house used to have a covered front porch, and once we're going to look at the elevations, you can resemble the roof line where it used to be. Approximately, it was removed in 1947. Unfortunately, we couldn't find the pictures of the old front porch. So we would propose the covered front porch that would be functional for the owners, that would have the stairs on the west and on the south. The owners don't have a garage, so they park on the driveway. They have a curb cut, and then they have a small driveway on the south. So they park their car on the south. So they requested the stairs on the south for the better functionality. The footprint of the porch would not be very large, would accommodate the existing stone stoop. So we would propose that the materials would match the existing, asphalt shingles, would match the existing roof, as well as gutters and downspouts. In this picture of existing west elevation, under the window you can see slightly of an angle. We believe that's where the roof used to be of an existing covered porch. So we are trying to match that a little bit. The owners, according to the owners, the home to the north, it's like a sister home to them. It was built in the same time, and it was owned by the same owner. So we would try to relate to that home, as well as to the neighboring homes of our Ridge Historic District. So the porch would have the round columns, and also the simple square railing. The newel post will be cedar with the ball cap that will relate to the neighboring home. The skirt or under the porch, that would be painted 2x2 vertical screen, and then it would have trim, like a picture trim around that. And at the beam, we would have some sort of painted dentils and trim that echoes the neighboring porches. The decking material and as well as the stairs material would be TimberTech. TimberTech can look exactly like wood and can be indistinguishable from wood, but requires less maintenance as it's advanced PVC or composite. And if we go to the next slides, we can see the porches better from the different sides. As you can see, the skirt is over there. I believe that's about it.
All right, thank you. Any questions from commissioners? Over, yes, Commissioner Z.
Yeah. I just had a question about what it used to look like. I know you said you couldn't find pictures. Were you able to reach out to the Evanston History Center and see if they had any pictures of what the house previously looked like?
I believe we tried and we couldn't obtain the photos. I'm not sure.
Okay, thanks.
I just have a question about on the, I guess you go to the partial north elevation, the condition, what's happening at the roof of the porch and the main volume of the house? That's metal flashing that you're proposing there to tie in the roof to the shingles of the house, right?
So in order to connect the roof and the wall, we need to provide flashing. So we're just showing where the flashing would meet. The house has a distinct, the second floor has a shingle shake siding, and that shake siding is tilted a little bit at the end. So we're trying to end our roof in that way that it kind of wraps around that.
Right, okay. So it would just meet the curve and continue around. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions from commissioners? If not, we can enter into deliberation. Any comments from commissioners on the application?
Are we in deliberation now?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So,
Cade, would you mind going to since the applicant referenced the neighboring house, can we just see that? I believe there was a photo of that.
There is a photo.
Yeah, why don't you just zoom in for a second? Now that we understand how sort of important this was for context.
So the neighboring home as well has the square, simple railing, square vertical skirt at the bottom, round columns, and as well as the newel post with the ball cap at the top. We try to relate mostly, not too much exactly.
Right, so there's a frieze panel of some sort, some kind of modest between the column capitals and the eave. And so what is going on yours?
We do have dental.
That's where you were describing?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I was describing. We do have relative detail of a dental and at our beam. So if you zoom in a little bit.
I think that would have been, or we can look at it in this. Can you
if
zoom
you
in?
really zoom in, you can see it, but.
Is it more visible on the other drawing, the previous drawing?
You mean the other elevation? Yeah.
Ah, I see. Okay. I saw it when I was looking at it in the drawing, but I lost track of it. All right. That was the only question or
Sure.
deliberation issue that I had.
Right. Any other comments from?
I was just going to say, I think this house is definitely in need of a front porch. I drive by it all the time, and seeing the rendering, I think it'll definitely make it look more like it was intended to look and sort of balance out the house. So I think it looks overall good, but I'm interested to hear what other people say here.
It's nicely done, no objections.
Verbatim what I was going to say.
I think just to tie into the standards, I think you did a great job with proportion and of solids to voids and also matching material and to the house and then also to the sister house next door. So I think, like was said, it was a nice completion of what should be there.
Thank you.
All right, so any other comments? Otherwise, I can entertain a motion for approval.
I can make a motion
Okay.
if you want. Okay. I move that we grant a COA for 26 Pres -0032, 1719 Asbury Avenue in the Ridge Historic District to construct a covered porch at the home's front street facing volume, applicable standards, alteration 1 through 10, and construction 1 through 8, 10 through 13, and 15.
All right, is there a second?
I second.
Second and third. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, passes unanimously. Thank you.
Yeah.
Next item on the agenda is 26 Pres 0034, located at 740 Forest Avenue. If you're ready to give a little presentation?
Yes.
Thank you.
I guess I didn't realize, yeah. So my name is Bruce Gold. I live at 740 Forest Avenue with my wife Sarah. And our goal is to preserve and update our outdoor space that needs some love. Our front porch is, if you show a picture of the house, it's kind of leaning a little bit. There hasn't been much work on it for many, just to update it. And in the back, the decking in the back is also and needs a repair. So they're both basically rotted out and leaning a little bit because when they were first built, they weren't built with the good, structure in the bottom part. What we propose is there's basically 3 areas that we need to update on the property for the outdoor space. My wife and I definitely, we want to keep consistent with the home, with preserving the historicness of it and the way it looks. So we're going to try to keep the decking and everything we do based on the type of railings that we have, on the house currently. So the front porch, we do want to extend it a little bit. If we can go to the renderings, yeah. We just want to make it a little bit bigger in the front. We're going to keep the, the look basically the same with the home as it exists now, just make it a little bit bigger. And again, it's hard to see in the initial picture, but it's kind of leaning a little bit on the top part of the front porch. In the back, the decking area, in the backyard, that's going to be at the back, the rear deck, yeah. So on the rear deck, we just want to, again, there's an existing deck there now, and we just want to keep in line with what the deck is. It's going to be a little bit bigger, but not much. And then there's also a stairway going up to a door that is also in need of repair. So all these areas are just kind of outdoor spaces that need to be updated and preserved. Yeah. I'm not the architect, but I helped design it, so I don't know all the exact, but we want to keep everything in line with details of how it is the existing home.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from commissioners? Yes.
So can you tell me a little bit about the front porch and the decision to do it as kind of a double decker with a balcony on top versus just a roof?
Yeah, we're not, I think it's more, we needed a covered part. It's not going to be a balcony. We're not using it.
Okay.
Because you see if you look at the front, there's no, the railing's small. So that's in line with the house it is now. If you look at the elevation of the front of the house that's existing, you'll see our garage. You can see yeah, I actually can't see it because we're actually renovating the inside of the home, but the garage has those little railings too, the slat railings. So this isn't going to be anything to, put any type of, chair or anything on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And had you looked at more of just a pitched roof over the top rather than the flat roof with the railing with your designer?
We did, but we thought this was more in line with the existing structure.
Okay.
Because if you can't see it, but we have a garage, attached garage, and it has the same exact look.
Okay.
With the white slat little railings and stuff, so it'll look really good with that, the way it's set up.
Would, if the rest of the commission felt similarly, would you object to not having the railing and having it more as a pitched roof on top?
No, I mean, I wouldn't object to it. I just don't think it'll look as good and keep in line with the historic preservation of the home. Again, unfortunately, you can't see, because we have a dumpster in front, the garage. But I know what you're saying, yeah.
Well, on the smaller porch, front porch that's there now, am I seeing a little railing on that portion? Okay. Okay. I mean, that's enough to convince me that there is a precedent for it. I think it takes on a little bit more stature, maybe too much when the front porch gets as big as it is. But I want to hear from my other commissioners on that topic.
When you say, okay. Go ahead. Yeah.
Any other questions?
So your existing house has shingles above the double window. You're changing the windows as well on the second floor?
No, the windows are staying the same.
Okay, and your existing house has like this whole fish shingle thing and all that kind of stuff. That's all staying?
Yes.
That's not portrayed in this drawing?
Yes, that's all staying. So again, if you look at the second level, which isn't going to be used for anything, that is the exact look. Again, John, is just as the next to it, we have an attached garage that has the same exact look. That's the only thing that the reason why we'd like it, because it would kind of keep in line with it and look really cool.
Okay.
And keep with the history of the house.
Yeah.
Just really quickly, I think one of the challenges we're having is that we're looking at it online on our screens and it doesn't match what the drawings are. So we're trying to figure out what you're proposing and the extent of the changes, because there's character in the house, see why you like it, that's not showing up in the drawings.
Okay.
You know what I find very strange about this is that you have a huge flat roofed area on the second floor, which is equivalent to the covered deck below. Your cross-section area or cross-section drawing is a little bit hard to read.
Yeah, there you go. So
it's a cutaway, but as far as I can tell, there isn't roofing, there's decking that's going up there. So my question is, if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, why isn't this a usable deck with a code-compliant railing? I mean, you would have to add a way to get out to it, but it's such a huge area, and I didn't look carefully at your cross-sections to understand what that area is made out of and how exactly it drains and whether you've actually figured all of that out.
Yeah, our intent was not to use, it was more for the look of it. So our intent, I mean, if it needs to be where we don't have the railings, we can definitely do that, but our intent was just we thought it would be, again, a good look with.
Yeah, but why would you go to the expense of building it rather than putting a conventional porch roof on that area? It's much more expensive, and like I said, it looks like a walkable deck, and you're not using it for anything. It's just roofing. Or I don't even know if it's roofing because I couldn't look at the.
I think it is.
Is there a construction detail through that? For this set?
Yeah. Oh, here. Right here. Let's see.
I mean,
So candidly,
I think a flat roof on a front porch with a railing around it, while some of our favorite architects like Palladio did things like that, I'm not sure that it's really something that you'd expect to see as part of a Victorian house. And I kind of, with John, my expectations would be that, you know, even if you had to cut out a little window well for those large double-hung windows without touching the sill height of them, that you would do something more conventional and something more typical to a front porch for a house of this vintage.
okay, I totally understand, but if you can see the one, can we go to the existing elevation? The existing home?
And I apologize.
With the picture,
I
just the
didn't get
picture?
chance
I just want to show you
actually do
guys.
a drive-by of your house.
Yeah, so you see the railing right there? That's was just the concept behind extending it. So that's the whole point. We're just trying to keep in line with that and just make it bigger and go across. There's no way to get, you know, from a safety standpoint, I agree. We don't want it. That was just for the look. So if you guys just want it to be without the railing, I mean, that's fine.
I mean, can I just?
And then over there, if you see where the car is, behind that, that's our garage. It has the same exact rail. Yeah, there you go. So that's the point. That's what we wanted, to try to keep that look all the way around. We thought it'd be a neat look. Unintended was the idea that there was going to be this big deck on that looks like a deck to use, but we're not planning on using it. That wasn't our intent.
I think the logic was sound. I think that when we're looking at it now in a bigger scale, in a different context, that's what we're reacting to. That garage was probably not original, and they put that railing on there to kind of soften its flatness.
Yeah. And we love it. I mean, we love the way it looks, and we're going to, you know, that's got to be redone a little bit too down the road.
Anyway, I would like to talk about scale just for a second, and then I would love to get back to what my colleagues over here were starting to talk about before we started to talk about. So you noted that you were going to expand it a little bit, this porch, but it looks to me much bigger, like twice the size. I'm just.
Well, no,
the depth
it's
and
just
the
a
whole
side.
thing.
It's a side porch currently. We're just going to extend it to the front.
So it's coming forward quite a bit, and then it's being extended across the entire front of the house.
Yes.
So you're truly changing the look of this. And so I'm just wondering from a preservation perspective, how are you gonna, which standards would you suggest we use to understand this? Because that was part of the application.
Oh, there's difference. Okay.
I don't want you to be on the spot without.
Yeah, no, that was part of the application that we asked about applicable standards. So, yeah. Because this is a pretty substantial change to this building. It's not a small extension of the porch, so, yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So is there a difference? What am I supposed to?
So it was in the application. We asked in the
Okay.
application for, that's part of the, requirement to submit for a certificate of appropriateness.
Commissioner Dreller, the application lists standard 1, standard minimal alterations, standard 6, repair or replace of deteriorated features appropriately, and standard 9, compatible new design. Those were the three that were.
We're talking about alteration,
Yes,
not construction.
I believe, yes.
Okay, so standard for review alteration number 6 is deteriorated architectural features shall be repaired rather than replaced. That doesn't seem particularly applicable in this case. What are the other ones?
Standard 1, minimal alteration, and standard 9, compatible new design.
So minimal alteration.
That's
So-
under alteration, yeah.
Right, minimal alteration, so I'm not sure about that one. And number 9, innovative design?
It said compatible new design, but is that the one for innovation?
Yeah, so standards for review of alteration, number 9 is innovative design. And it's not, I'm sorry, it's because it was part of your application, I was expecting that to be part of your presentation. So that's why I was asking. It was not my intent to put you on the
Oh, no,
spot,
that's
but-
okay. That's okay. I mean, again, it's.
Right.
Yeah.
But perhaps I just wanted to give you an opportunity to speak to those things that were in your application and part of the
Okay.
review standards. Go ahead.
I'm curious how you decided how much larger, like how far away, how much space you needed on the front porch, like in front of those 2 windows. Like it looks like it goes out about maybe 5 or 6 feet.
Yeah, I think it's like 5 feet.
Was it like
5 feet.
Was it to have furniture or
Yeah,
just you like the
just to
look of
be
it?
out with in the neighborhood and with the neighbors and just kind of enjoying the front porch a little better. Right now, it's a little bit of a side porch.
Yeah.
And since it had to be replaced, just for practical purposes, we had to replace that whole structure.
Sure.
We thought it'd be nice just to have a little bit more space and go to the front.
Right.
And then the whole idea with the top was more about keeping in line with the other garage and the way it looks currently.
I think maybe what you're hearing is like I'm a big fan of front porches.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of weird for me to sit here right now after the previous one. Anyways, but I think the challenge that I think we're having is that for me it looks like a 2 flat. It kind of changes the character of the house, and so I think that it's. Having driven by and looking at the pictures, your house is awesome. It has a lot of character, right? It's not just different shingles, but the way the trim extends through.
Right. Yep.
And my bias as an architect is when I see drawings like this that don't show the same love for the house that the original architect have and that you probably have, it kind of makes me wonder about the design a little bit. So that's not helping. But I think overall, it's just that it changes the character a lot because it does look like a double decker, it looks like a 2 flat. So I'm wondering, and also just going up and down the street, you don't see second floor decks.
Sure,
And
okay.
I know you're not going to use it that way.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, the challenge that I'm guessing your architect had was this, somebody brought it up, like I think Stuart brought it up, the sill of the windows is fairly low. So that's why I was asking how far out you wanted the deck to go, because if it doesn't go out that far, if you do a 212 pitch, you could do traditional shingles and you still might be able to have the nice deck that you want, and it's
And
sociable.
That's
It's
totally fine. Again, it was just understood.
Yeah.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah.
Fine from that perspective.
You could put a different roof on that front porch area and keep the existing railed roof over the entryway. I know it would mean you wouldn't be extending the covering as far out, but it certainly would call more attention to the entryway and give it greater prominence in relation to how you're proposing to alter the front of the house. Having said that, what I'd like to say is that normally we applaud people who look carefully at the houses they're altering, pick up on, and then either extend or somehow skillfully transform elements that they've taken from that house to make the new thing out of. But I mean, maybe the reality of this, if built, would be a lot different. But I sort of understand Tom thinking, oh, it's a 2 flat, and those big windows are a way for the people who live on the second floor to get out to their deck. I know that's not helpful to you from a design point of view, but those are
it's
the
kinda
sort of
helpful.
visual reservations that I have.
I
about
appreciate
this.
everyone's input and advice. Again, we were just looking at it from that perspective of the railing, which we thought was neat, which we really like. So
We just had the old business item that was just here earlier. They had attempted to use a detail from another part of the house, and it kind of was too much. And when they backed out of that, it really looked much better and was much more respectful of the existing historic part than what it was when they tried to kind of love it too much, I guess.
Sure.
So that was actually exactly the situation with this old business item that we just heard, that you were sitting here when we were listening to the renovation. So that might be part of what's happening here as well. But I would like to get back to what my colleagues were talking about earlier. Did you have the Google? Right, yeah. So here's this part. Yeah, so there's a lot of detail in this on your house that gives it character, as my colleague was saying, that is not in your drawings. And so if it's not in the drawings, does that mean you're going to remove this material or just, because it's hard, the drawings are representing your project, and so.
Yeah, they may not have been in tune with the historic preservation of Evanston is what I would say. But we're not planning on, we love all the detail of the house. So if that needs to be more carefully, put into the elements in the pictures, then I'll make sure it gets done.
Can I ask a question? With the front porch extending across your living room, are you concerned that your living room's going to get really dark by covering up that window with a roof?
I mean, a little bit, my wife talked about that, yes. But we like the idea of having, a little more space and a little outdoor space.
I think the good news, I mean, maybe for a further conversation with the architect, if just counting the courses of the siding, it looks like, if I'm conservative and say it's 4-inch exposure and not 6-inch, it's easier if it's 6-inch, but if it's 4-inch, it looks like it's a couple of feet between where the gutter would be and where the sill is. And, the shingle roof can be as shallow as 2 and 12. So I don't think my point is, I don't think you're going to have any trouble getting a comfortable dimensioned porch, which I applaud you for putting on the house. It's a social space. That's great. So if you decide to, you could change the roof the way some folks have been talking about it. It looks like the geometry works. So that might be good news.
Looking at that,
so no railing and change the roof line.
Looking at that one photograph, if you carry the line from the side, if you carry the line, if you carry the line of that, the underside of that covered porch portion around, it looks like you have more than enough dimension going up to the sill of that window to put a conventional hip roof on that section.
That's what Commissioner Allman was saying.
I think now that we've beat you up about this, I really want to applaud somebody wanting to put a front porch on their house. Everybody reserves their backyard and decks and things as private space, and I think that one of the things that older suburbs had were front porches, and it was a place of interaction with people in the public domain on the street that was still semi-private, that held you up above that, but there was a kind of presence to the street. And I think if you go and you look at newer automobile suburbs, they're just, I don't want to use the F word, but they're dead. The street is dead.
Please do not use that.
Yeah, and that's what we want to be. We want to be out on the porch and
Faces the street, I think, is a really commendable idea and a commendable gesture on your part.
Can I ask a question of my colleagues here? Are you suggesting that the railing would go away even where it is currently existing, or are you suggesting here that you would yes, that.
You mean over the front entrance?
Right.
Yeah.
So the front entrance has its character, and then if I understand correctly, you're talking about putting a slightly 212 or whatever pitched roof over the extension.
Right. I think that.
But I want to be clear what we're suggesting.
Yeah, because I need to be able to articulate it too.
I think when you look at the facade that way, it kind of helps with a hierarchy. You know where the main entrance is, but then it also gives this secondary porch space without the railing.
So is that how you guys are?
I'm not suggesting that.
Or no.
Right. What are you suggesting?
I think I was.
The reason is that you're going to end up having a little conflict between those roofs. And so I think
that's the reason why I was.
For continuity and harmony, I think it should just be all one roof, either a hip or a gate or a shed coming off the off the main house.
So in that case, we would, if they were to come back with a proposal like that, we would be open to considering it, even though they are removing what is currently existing and not replacing it in kind. Excuse me, Stuart, if you wouldn't mind letting me finish. The railing that is currently there would go away and not come back. Just to be clear. Thomas? Yeah, I want to make sure we give them the right feedback.
Yeah, I mean,
obviously,
that's why I can pay for my kids to go to college, because they have to hire an architect and figure that out.
Well, I mean, they'd have to come back with
But it's not
other
just, but
drawings.
isn't it not just the architect part? It's also, do we want that look of the railing? So you're saying we're not going to, so that's more of you guys as far as how we want the look, because we're going to be removing that aspect of the home. That's
Right.
all.
Look,
and that's okay with me. I just, again, I want to, we're trying to, our goal, my wife especially, believe me too, but our goal is we want to keep it in tune with the way the house looks now, but just a little bit.
Yeah.
It needs some love, and we just want to expand it a little bit. So that was our goal.
And the impulse to extend something that's already there, like Stuart said, is close. It's just that when you look at it when it's done, you say, it doesn't quite do that. So I think to answer Sarah's question, I mean, for me, it could go either way. I think there's something to be said for not removing a historic part of the house, which is that railing. So trying to avoid that would be good. But if you end up with a solution that's kind of half cat, half dog, then maybe it doesn't work. And for me, a hipped roof or some roof that, as John said, kind of just is the roof of the porch, for me would probably be a good solution too. So I think we have to be careful about not designing it for you, giving you usable feedback that you can go back to the architect or sit down at the kitchen table with your wife and kind of look at some other examples. And I think if you look at other examples of homes that have a front porch and one roof, whatever shape.
Plenty, yeah, for sure.
Like across the street
they're all down the block.
Right.
I mean,
The question will just be to kind of iterate that a little bit and see with your architect and in your own hearts to see what it is that you can come up with that would be have a little bit more of character in that sense. Does that make sense? And this is being recorded, so you can go back and watch it too. It's
right.
Not,
so just a roof line. Okay.
This is not the end of this for you.
For sure.
And
Thank
then
you. Appreciate the input.
Yeah, and then when you come back, we would ask to have the details. What you're truly proposing, including the details, right, on the drawing.
Yeah, and I think one thing that we always like to see, but it's really helpful for homeowners too, if your architect is able to do it, is a three-dimensional drawing so that you can kind of see.
They have some on the cover of the submission.
Okay.
I just want to state a little more background on the idea of why I think one roof rather than keeping the existing is good. This is a modest, by Evanston Victorian standards home, and that's a very modest porch on the front of it, and it's not a landmark property. So in my view, adding the covered porch is very much in line with that Victorian era, and losing a little bit of the decorative railing, which may or may not have been original, is okay for me.
Thank you.
Can I?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what everyone else said. I think everyone articulated it well, why it needs to probably change. I also just wanted to say I'm not sure what it should look like in the end. We kind of respond to what comes to us. So, you and your architect can maybe, like someone said, iterate on a couple ideas. And then I would just say too, and I know you said there's a lot in your neighborhood. There are a ton of porches in Evanston. Maybe drive around and maybe one kind of looks similar to your house that you can build on or take inspiration from. But I definitely think there is a solution here.
Okay. Thank you.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You go first.
Well, I was just going to say if they are doing work on the back of the house, and that's what I was. Okay, go.
Yeah, we got to.
I was going to say we focused a lot on the front.
Sorry for taking up so much time. I didn't anticipate.
Does anyone
I
have any
apologize.
questions?
I
Is
do.
it about the front or the back?
I've listened, the front.
Okay.
I've listened to everyone, and I totally agree. It's a lovely Victorian, but we are definitely changing whether it's a flat roof or whatever, we are changing the character of the front of the house, and I think we have to think about that a little bit. I love front porches. We all love front porches. You have a back porch too, and to Stuart's point, we all love people out in the front, but you're changing the whatever you do, flat roof, railings, whatever, it's going to change the home significantly. So I just want my commissioners to think about that.
Before we move to the back, are there any other comments on any detailing on the front?
One minor
Details
comment.
Of the columns,
and the detail may show something different than this elevation and the rendering, but the lattice under the porch from this view looks like it's just sort of tacked on to the posts, and ordinarily that would be framed by a kind of 1x4 trim piece or something like that. So I'm going to want to see that in the end, and if we make a motion, whenever we make a motion, I'm going to propose that the lattice underneath have a frame around it.
Okay.
There's an example of that in the previous, what was the, Thomas, what was the address?
Asbury.
Yeah, 1719 Asbury Avenue. If you go back and look at those drawings, there's an example of what John is describing.
Okay. Are we ready to go to the review the back now? The rear deck, which is being proposed.
Can I just say one other,
Yes.
one
Yeah, go ahead.
tiny little thing about the front? Once you, just because we're not commenting on the columns and stuff doesn't mean that we won't necessarily have comments later, but I just wanted to add that once you start iterating on the roof, you might decide to have a different configuration of how things come together. So that would be okay too.
Okay.
It's, if you're coming back, you can do what you need to do in order to get it right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sounds
okay.
good.
Okay. Any comments from commissioners about what's being proposed in the rear? So I have a question. So it seems like the railings leading up to this new deck are kind of flared or curved, but then how does that curve continue? Does it just curve and then go straight into, especially on the left?
Well, if you look at the 3D, the different drawing that shows it better. If that's, yeah, there you go. Does that help at all, Carl?
Go to the, yeah, because it seems like it's just, the railing continues, but then it's like the balustrade is also above, so it's like, is there a continuation of the railing up diagonally across that?
Well, it flares at
Yeah.
the bottom.
Yeah, it just flares out to the, yeah, there's going to be a patio there. And again, we wanted to have the deck similar to the look of the house with the railings and.
May I ask you a question? Have you started this work?
No. When we started, no, of course not. What do you mean? Started?
No, I mean, there's like a dumpster there with a bunch of stuff, and
We're renovating the inside of the home.
there's plywood across the back.
We're just renovating the inside of the house, right? Yes, that's in our plans for renovating the outside. I mean, the inside with windows. And there's going to be a door there. So that's the way the It's not done yet, obviously, but yeah.
Sorry, would you mind saying that again? You're renovating,
We're renovating the inside of the
right?
home.
Right.
So the inside of the home, that back, there's a window there and there's going to be a door there now to the left. So it's a little different than it was before.
Yeah, but isn't
Okay.
this part of the work that you're requesting a certificate of appropriateness for?
No. We're just right now, it's just for the deck.
But I'm trying to follow up on that. It seems like there's 2 windows and a door that are being changed.
So,
right?
but that's already been, we have a permit for that.
Okay.
You have a permit to change the door and the window?
Yes. Yeah.
Mhm. And did we review that?
I mean, we got a permit for the whole inside of the home.
No, but we're talking about the exterior of the home, right? The door and the window. So that's part of.
That's exterior.
That's exterior, yeah. I'm guessing
So
somehow.
I understand that you're doing interior work and you have a permit for that work.
Right.
But then any exterior work technically comes before the Preservation Commission
Oh,
for a certificate of
okay, all right.
appropriateness for our review of the exterior of the, I know it's it's kind of a hard thing when you're doing whatever you're doing inside, but then the windows and the
Right.
doors are on the exterior, and that's what we have review of.
Carl, is this might not strictly be the owner's problem. I mean, it's also the city's responsibility to identify
That's
projects
what-
when they're submitted
Right,
that
that's
need to
what-
come before us.
That's what I was requesting is when the permit review was, you want to speak?
Well, I don't, and we can always follow up on this later. I mean, the commission's not responsible for enforcement, but I don't see any interior permit at all that's pulled for this property. The last permit I show is 2024, upgrading an electrical service.
Yeah, we have a permit for, we built a garage in the back. And
I see
then with
that.
those plans, it was a one big plan for also the interior. They were both approved.
From 2024,
Yeah, 2024, yep.
the permit for construction of a garage.
The garage
includes-
and the inside, there was all one big permit that was approved for both. I mean, we've been working on it. They're coming for inspecting the inside for the mechanicals.
Well, I can follow up with the
Yeah.
inspectors. I don't want the commission to.
Yeah, I don't want to take everyone's
Worry about
time
that.
here. I mean,
Well,
I'd like to, I mean, if, maybe there's more to talk about on the back, but it seems like this project's going to be coming back. Does that seem likely to any other commissioners?
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's make sure that there's some usable feedback for the back, and then this question of permitting and the process question can be dealt with separately in the interim.
That's fine. So any,
Not to be coy, but I paid a substantial amount of money for the permit. So everyone knew that I was, now you guys may not, and it's a little frustrating right now, what I was doing as far as getting a permit for the garage and doing my house, and it was together. So that's not a me issue. Just want to make sure that's clear. And I appreciate everyone's input, but it's a little frustrating when you spend a lot of money on a permit and you're doing all this work, and then all of a sudden, this is coming up, so. And we're doing everything as within Evanston and to get permits. There's nothing nefarious or anything. We're just trying to get stuff accomplished and update our home.
All right, in any case, can we go back to the drawing? Let's move back to the porch. So if we go to the drawings, it was showing what it looked like before the, I mean, we
Yeah, you were right there.
can't,
You go
we
to the
can't
back.
see the existing condition that's shown in the drawing because there's plywood there, but we're supposed to only be looking at the deck and not everything else? for this?
It's a little hard to look at this on the fly, but I mean, I'm trying to look at the approved permit set currently.
But just,
I mean, if it
No,
was.
I think what Sarah's saying, if I could interrupt, is that, and again, the quality of the drawings describing the back are very difficult to
Right.
read, and we do this stuff
Okay.
for a living.
I'll have to
So, and this is not on you, right?
Yeah,
Like you
I
paid a
understand.
professional to do this. I don't feel prepared to like comment on the back because, to be honest, I can't understand it. It looks like things are kind of being removed, but maybe that's a proposed window if we go back to the.
let's just figure out what we're supposed to be looking at and see if we can give him any feedback.
So I understand what you're basically saying is this application currently just for the rear deck, not
Right.
for the 2 windows and the door.
Yeah, it's
Right.
just for the rear deck.
Right,
It's
but
just for
it's
the deck
showing that-
and for the side.
Yeah, if you,
It's deteriorating.
but if you zoom in,
So it looks like and again, I'm not being a smart aleck. I'm just
No, I
commenting
hear
on the
you.
drawings so that you can share this feedback with your
Well,
architect.
I will.
If I'm reading this without you saying anything, it looks like you're filling in windows with siding, or maybe you're putting in windows where there used to be a blank wall. But the way that that's drawn and the way it's noted, I can't tell.
Okay, I'll update it.
but we might not need, if that's not part of the work that we're supposed to be reviewing right now, we might not need to worry about it.
I think that was the intent of the architect. Didn't think that was part of it.
Got
So
it.
That's why we're
Fair-
just doing for the deck right
Fair
now.
enough. So I think I would like to suggest that this all get worked out outside of this chamber. Like, clearly you have a permit and we have questions about stuff that should have happened on the city side, not your side. And it seems like there's some sorting out that needs to happen. And while that's happening, you've got some feedback for the front.
Okay.
Yeah, although he's here, it would be nice to give him some feedback on the deck if we're supposed to be.
Yeah, I mean, like, he doesn't need to come back in a whole extra month later if we can avoid that. I mean, like, do we have any thoughts? I mean, I feel like the flare is a little bit sort of like discontiguous. I feel like the way that on either end the deck juts out beyond like the rest of the elevation seems a little bit confusing to me. Like, any thoughts there? Just to give him some ideas about the back deck.
I could live without the flare.
Okay.
And again, the comment about the lattice frame. And then could we zoom in on the railing detail on the detail sheet? I think maybe the upper right.
This one?
Yeah.
You mean that it's on the exterior?
Well, I think what we're looking at here is the balusters are on one side of a sort of running 1x or 2x. That's easier to build and doesn't look as authentic to the style. So as long as we're giving feedback on the railings and the back porch, I'd like to see a different railing that looks more like a Victorian era railing.
And I'm guessing that's the same railing as the front of the house as well.
I assume. Yes.
Can you show the elevation that where you can sort of see the like floor plan, the layout of the deck?
I can. I also just, for the record, want to state that Mr. Gold does have a permit for replacing those windows. It was not routed for review. Sometimes that happens with interior work. So that's the answer. That's the kitchen, correct?
Yeah. Thank you, Kate.
And are there 2 windows and a door that are what's shown on the application?
It's replacement of a door and then replacement of those existing openings. And I think there's, 4 windows?
Can you get that drawing up? Maybe you could explain to us what's drawn here, because siding is drawn going through the windows.
I think
there's the double hung window that's drawn and then cut in half, and it overlays what looks like a large sliding glass aluminum window. Maybe you could just blow up that whole center section.
I think they're just saying it's not I think the intention behind the way this is drafted is that it's not part of the scope of work.
What is the window that you're putting in there?
Stuart, that's not part of our scope.
I'm sorry.
I say that's not part of our scope.
Okay.
All right.
Josh, what did you want? You wanted to see the 3D rendering? I mean, the 3D drawing?
To be able to see it from sort of above where we can see what the layout,
Are you talking about that?
Exactly.
So
That's
just so I'm clear, so no
door?
flare of the railing, and then the lattice frame, we wanted?
Correct.
Okay.
And railing detail differently. I'd like to hear my fellow commissioners' opinion on the sort of concave curve on the end of the deck. It's not the end of the world, but I think it adds kind of a design feature that isn't necessary on this home and probably isn't giving you much square footage. So if that was just a rectangular deck, I think that would be more appealing to me anyway.
I'm
I
okay.
agree.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, it's the back of the house. It's not a
Agreed. That's not a
individually
deal.
listed landmark.
Not a deal killer for me.
If they want to,
It was
Have
more for
this-
space. That we put
Yeah.
a round table.
yeah, I mean, it'll be, I assume that the reason why they have that flare at the bottom was because they have the curve up above it. I mean, it's, those kinds of things, because it's the back of the house, it's not as much of an issue for me.
I would like to know, are those doors and windows ordered?
Yes.
Okay.
So how do other commissioners feel about what Commissioner Bose Carlson was talking about, the deck going out? Is that what you were talking about, going out in front of the door?
Yeah, on both sides, it seemed sort of strange. I mean, it looks like there's at least a foot or so on the left-hand side, like indented. Like, why is that indentation there? The whole deck just seems a little bit disproportionate to me. But
Can we see the image on the left more clearly, the left side of the left image? So they're dodging the condenser.
Yeah.
That helps.
Yeah, they're hiding, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, and just for what it's worth, the bow-shaped porch is not a big deal for me. The railing, my 2 cents is chances are your carpenter's not going to build it that way. But if you like the curve and they can do it, I think that's fine. That's not a big deal.
So how do other commissioners feel about what Commissioner Jacobs was talking about, instead of the flat, railing and then the balusters being applied to the side of it versus more of a finished railing?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody up here is going to disagree with that the railing should be consistent with the house.
Okay. So,
And then for the drawings, it would be the same comment for the skirt, to just make sure that whatever the intention is, that it's shown on the drawing as a representation of the project.
Okay.
So that it would have a little frame.
Little frame for the lattice, got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was described earlier, and as I said, there was an example in the previous project as well. So
Okay.
it's something that your architect can do pretty straightforwardly.
Are you replacing the railing on top of the garage and then the one on the left-hand side as well?
No, not at this time. The left-hand side, we are, that's all part of the COA. That's all got to be replaced, up to the stairs, up to the door.
Are there a bunch of doors on the back? I'm just trying to, like egress door, like there's.
That's to the basement.
And then on the left, there's stairs. There's another door?
Stairs to a door, yeah. And the door's existing, that's not changing. That's been there.
And then a door on the right, to the right of the deck too, that you kind of go around? Is that?
That's the garage.
Oh, that's the garage. Okay. And
That's
then the
railing.
other, okay.
Yeah, and that's the whole railing
Okay.
concept that we really like.
Okay, thanks.
Not anticipate.
Well, a half an hour ago, I was going to suggest that we approve this conditionally on changing the porch roof, but I'm taking the temperature of the rest of my commissioners. I don't think that's happening.
No, I would like to see it continued, please.
Okay, right. So I think that that's the understanding of the commission, is that we would like a continuance for both the front and the back. And, all right.
I should also say that there's a
Okay.
third small component of this project, right? That it says replacing an existing entry stair and second-story open deck off to the side on the left. But that, I understand, is just replacing in kind, so we're not going to
Yes,
give them
that's
feedback.
just
on that.
existing. Yeah.
Right. I mean, if there's no change to that, I'm fine with.
Yeah, I mean, that was a question. We're not going to give him, before we move on to voting on something.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. So does someone want to take on making a motion of continuance? We can split it up if you want, if someone wants to focus on the front, and then we can make some, but however. Okay.
Do we need to state all the conditions that we're concerned in this motion, or can it just be the comments that have already been made?
Yeah, I don't think you have to be specific necessarily. You could just say it's being continued for them to consider the feedback that
I just want to ask the applicant, do you feel that you have enough feedback from us?
I think so. I think so. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know all the lingo, to be candid with you, because I'm not an architect, but I'll talk to my architect and tell him, I get told, and I appreciate, just so you guys know, I appreciate everyone's feedback. Again, our goal is to keep it to preservation. I appreciate everyone's thoughts, and we just, we're trying to update something that needs some love, and that's the bottom line. So, and I appreciate everyone's feedback. Thank you.
Okay.
And you can always review this meeting. It will be on YouTube later, so
Okay.
you can.
Yeah,
you
I don't
can,
wanna take everyone's-
review the
And I'll
meeting.
follow back up with
Yeah.
you. And we can
Okay.
set up a time to
Okay.
talk. Yeah.
I appreciate it.
All right. Okay. So, do you want to
Okay.
make the motion?
So regarding case 26, Pres-0034740 Forest Avenue, Lakeshore Historic District, I move that we issue a continuance to grant the applicant time to address the comments that we've already made regarding the front and rear porches, as well as the quality of rendering and depicting the actual conditions.
I would second that.
Okay, seconded by Commissioner Driller. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I just want to, really quick, Carl, say for the record, I think the applicable standards of concern were construction 2, proportion of facades, construction 7, relationship of materials and textures, construction 8, roof shapes, construction 10, scale of structure.
Say that again, Kate, I'm sorry.
Were these all in construction?
They were all in
Construction 2, proportion of facades, construction 7, relationship of materials and texture, construction 8, roof shape, and construction 10, scale of structure.
So does the applicant, did you get that? What Kate just said? Oh, no, I'm sorry. So we have different standards for review, and the standards of review that were in your application were for alteration. However, Kate was noting that actually there might be some other standards that would be more applicable to your project, and that would be under standards for review of construction. So he just listed out 4.
Number 2?
Yeah.
Proportion of facades.
So
Number
review
7.
for construction, number 2.
Okay.
Number 7.
Number 7, yep.
Number 8.
Mhm.
And 10.
The 8 is the roof shape, so that would be, right? So you can go back and look at those standards. There, it's a link if you have the
Okay.
application.
He has it printed out.
And we gave you a printed
Yeah.
copy. So those might be for the next presentation. It might be helpful to drill down on those particular standards a little bit.
Okay.
As a result of this conversation,
Awesome.
rather than the ones that were included in your application.
Got it.
Does that help you?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you. So now we'll move on to items for discussion. We have next up the Lakefront Protection Ordinance, and we have Councilmember Kelly, who's the lead sponsor of this ordinance, who you want to come and give a presentation and introduction of the ordinance?
Sure, thank you. We'll be very short. I'm Claire Kelly, council member for the First Ward and the lead sponsor for the Lakefront Protection Ordinance. My other sponsors are the other Lakefront council members, Councilmember Davis and Councilmember Isles. I want to thank you for reviewing this evening, this really important ordinance for our community. You've already shared some input. Hopefully you see some of your previous input integrated already. So we really welcome your thoughts, your expertise this evening. Also, please feel free to, if you see some amendments that you would like to suggest and move it forward with amendments, that would be fine from here. I think you all know the main objectives of this. It's really twofold. One, it's to protect the environmental integrity of our lakefront for generations and into the future, but it's also equally about protecting access to our lakefront. So from here, we hope that we'll, earn your support. And again, you can move it forward with recommended amendments that we can bring forward to council and consider and vote on if you see something that we missed. This will also go to the Environmental Board this month. That's been a community effort here. They've also shared some input that's been integrated. They'll do the same. And then we hope that in June it will come to council by June or July and that we can move forward on this. As part of this very short presentation, I did ask, we're lucky to have some wonderful lakefront enthusiasts and experts with really deep knowledge of our lakefront. I'd like to ask Cam Davis first to share a few words about the importance of this ordinance. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for your public service. I know you don't get thanked enough for what you do. My name is Cam Davis. I'm an elected commissioner at the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District. I also worked with the Obama administration to coordinate the work of 11 federal departments to invest $2 billion in the restoration of the Great Lakes. But here tonight, I'm here in my most important capacity, which is as a resident of Evanston at 114 Kedzie Street. Want to urge you to support the Lakefront Protection Ordinance tonight and move it forward to City Council. As Councilmember Kelly mentioned, there are a lot of really important reasons for why a unified, holistic approach to protecting our lakefront is so vital. As somebody who was born in Evanston, has lived here for decades, I have seen really over a long period of time, decades, how we see attempts to sell pieces of the lakefront. I saw 25 years ago an attempt to build a gigantic marina off the east coast of Calvary Cemetery. We've seen even more recently attempts to work through dunes and disrupt fragile mini ecosystems that we have on the lakefront. And I think one thing that I've observed over these decades is when these individual proposals come up, we all drop everything to review them. You all have to spend time, the council has to spend time, we as residents spend time, the project proponents have to spend a ton of time. Wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice if we had a unified, holistic policy for the lakefront that treats the lakefront as a whole, not just as a set of fragmented lots that don't work together, but should work together. And so that's why over the past decade, many of us have been working to put together the LPO that you see in front of you to help make these decisions, to put them in context, to make these decisions fit within a more long-term vision of the lakefront. I'll leave it at that, and it's time. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd also like to ask, Thank you, Cam. Jeff Smith, who also has much history defending the lakefront. He successfully defended the lakefront when Loyola wanted to build out and fill in the lakefront. So I've asked him if he could just also share a few words about the importance. Thank you. Jeff Smith, long-term.
Thank you. Thank you, Claire, and I'll echo Commissioner Davis's thanks to you all, especially because you serve without pay, and I think the value of volunteers is sometimes underestimated in any community. This ordinance that's been proposed is, if anything, long overdue. I think I started discussing the possibility of a lakefront protection ordinance with folks, maybe including Cam, 35 years ago. Chicago's had a lakefront protection ordinance for a long time that, if anything, is probably a little more comprehensive than what we're looking at. So this, to some degree, if you're a hardcore lakefront activist, is baby steps, but you got to crawl before you can walk, and you got to walk before you can run. And so it's a good idea. There's a strong connection that might not be immediately intuitive between lakefront protection, the environmental and ecological aspects of the lakefront, and what this commission is charged with doing, which is preservation. But if you look at the preamble to the ordinance by which this commission is constituted, it talks about things like history and heritage and culture and the attractiveness of the community, and the lakefront was a huge part of that. I've been part of more visioning processes than I would wish on any citizen, and over, if you go to the focus sessions or whatever the consultants that are hired convene, the lakefront always comes at the very top, if not, well, within the top three, if not usually, the top thing that's attractive about Evanston. And it's important to preserve. We're in an ever more unequal society. There's pressure on anything that's public from the national level, but it gets pushed down. We've got 13 million people almost in Illinois, but we only have 65 or so miles of coastline. That's not a lot of coastline per person. So we've got to protect what we can that's public. According to the way that Illinois entered the Union, all of the shore is supposed to be public. You go back to Roman law, you go back to even English law, they said it was above the king. The king owned the shore of the sea, but in trust for the public. And we inherited that, and then we expanded it beyond what England had done by saying it applies to inland seas as well. I don't want to bore non-lawyers with these, but there was a case called the Genesee Chief, so they were talking about that in the 1850s, and then, of course, Illinois was a huge part of the solidification of the public trust doctrine in America, because we had the Illinois Central case, and that came out of the Illinois Central Railroad case, and that came out of Illinois and laid down as a bedrock principle that we can't give away, sell, alienate what's public, including the lake bottom and the lake shore, and even formerly submerged lands. And that was the issue in the Lucas Museum case in the downtown Chicago a few years ago, to a private party. But it's important, so some of that's protected by, in theory, by state law, by the Department of Natural Resources, for whom I had the privilege to work for a few years, and by the Army Corps of Engineers. But there's constant pressure on them. There's riparian property is not cheap. I don't blame people who want to improve their property. I don't blame people who aspire for more in a mixed economy that's got a lot of capitalism to it. You know, I don't blame sharks for eating little fish. it's natural. It's what folks do. But all of us who are entrusted by the public with duties or who aspire to that, and right now I hold no public office, elected or appointed, other than rogue agent, I guess. But we have the duty to look out for the folks who don't have the ways and means to hire armies of lawyers and lobbyists, et cetera. So an ordinance like this is a really good first step towards strengthening what we have, making a statement, drawing a line in the sand, if you will, and saying that the lakefront is for the public. It's supposed to be clear and free, and we're going to hold on to it as best we can and try and preserve the best of what still remains of its history. We have a highly engineered coast, of course, but it can still be preserved. It can be kept open, and we should all be on the vanguard of being wary of the temptation to monetize it, commercialize it, sell it off for expediency, profit of whatever kind, whether it's financial, professional, or political. And so I support what Alderman Isles and Kelly and Davis have put forward, and I hope that you will as well. And I'm happy to try and answer any questions that anybody has. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So do you want to give?
If you want to read it verbatim, you have it up.
Okay.
I was just going to summarize.
Well, you can give it. Okay. Commissioner Matthew Johnson sent comments, and so I'm just going to read what he had to share. He had two concerns. One was the definition of lakefront stakeholders troubles me. The lakefront belongs to all. I'm reading his comments. One, the definition of lakefront stakeholders troubles me. The lakefront belongs to all of us, not just those with adjacent property. Others can request to be added to the email list, yes, but the council should be more active in getting community engagement beyond extending this invitation, which many, disproportionately from minority communities, will not take up. More broadly, the nature of this document as an ordinance is to focus on process, but I would like to see more on dissemination community engagement. For example, as part of the prep for the baseline assessment, reference to disseminating knowledge about the lakefront is arguably outside the scope of this ordinance, but nevertheless relevant, as we saw with proposals to build or rebuild Burnham's garden structure in a different location. And two, channeling William Cronin, definitions of natural and native are problematic. The movement of sand is, as I understand it, partly due to anthropogenic causes, example, e.g., climate change. Many species have been introduced several centuries ago and are now very much part of the lakefront heritage while not being quote unquote native. So those are his comments. Do any commissioners have any overall general comments on this proposed ordinance, or any, like, does any section, do you think, I mean, of course, there is a significant portion of the lakefront that is located within the Lakefront Historic District, which already has some purview for the Preservation Commission, but that does not have any protection of sale of property or any entity coming in and wanting to commercialize the lakefront. So do you see any?
I'll go first. I think that this is a great idea. I do think that we should support it. I found the references to cultural resources to be very heartening at the beginning, and I found that there wasn't much of it in the rest. So I think it would be great if we had more of a, as we said, holistic thought process here. I have some thoughts. The definition of a lakefront ecosystem is missing. It's referenced, but it's not there in the list of definitions as I saw it. And when we think about the word ecosystem, it's often thought of in terms of natural resources, but the built environment is part of that. And I always, as somebody coming with a background in the built environment, am always thinking about ecosystems and the built environment being part of that. I had a very specific comment just because of my background and what I used to do for a living. Top of page 9, which is 89 in our packet, section 4.b.2, where it says an environmental impact assessment by qualified environmental professionals considering,
I'm sorry,
it's
which
4.9, top of page 9 of their packet is
Okay.
the top of page 89 in our packet. Right there.
Sorry, the question, I have it printed out, and the pages, I guess, on the printed out are
God.
different than the PDF.
Yeah.
So okay.
If you just zoom in a little bit, if you can, Kate, but this is what I was starting to read. And so, for instance, we'll see here an environmental impact assessment by qualified environmental professionals considering impacts to the lakefront ecosystem. So that's great. That's great. But from a preservation perspective, there's a lot of emphasis here on environmental professionals, and it's not clear to me if that assumes that an architectural or a cultural heritage professional is part of what we're referring to here as environmental. It is typical, or it has been typical in my experience, that environmental impact reports or environmental impact assessments, EIRs is what I used to call them when I was working in this, that the qualified environmental professionals definitely included someone with a background like mine in architectural history, and that the lakefront ecosystem, which here is presumed to be natural, would also include cultural. So what I was just trying to point out in this particular wording is that I think it would be great to spell it out here. Either that, or you could put it in the definition that qualified environmental professionals means not only natural environment, but also cultural heritage or built environment. You could spell out, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, I'm just suggesting ways of making this a little bit more straightforward. Lakefront ecosystem could be defined as the interconnectivity not only between elements of the natural landscape, but also elements of the built landscape. You know, things like that, so that it's not, so that the wording that's in the preamble that acknowledges the importance of cultural resources here is not just, we'll say, performative. Not that I think it is, but it feels like that when it's mentioned at the beginning and not carried through. I hope I'm being clear.
I think to follow up with that, I mean, it's great that they're requesting that this environmental
Correct.
Assessment is being conducted, but I would love to see that it's also taken into consideration, and I don't see that in here, that, you know, that the environmental impact not only should be required to happen, but then it should be used in analysis of whatever is being proposed.
Yeah, so that's typically, in my experience, that's how environmental impact reports have been, where you do a report, you have a variety of qualified professionals, some of which are emphasizing the natural landscape and some that do cultural resources, and then whatever impacts, potential negative impacts or potential other positive impacts, I guess, are taken into consideration then going forward. That's like sort of, but we could spell that out too, but we are the Preservation Commission, so our we are the like panel of experts for cultural resources here, and so that's the lens through which I'm looking at it. As a resident here in Evanston, of course, I'd love to say lots of other stuff because I am so strongly in favor of the environmental part of this, but that's not my. I would need to be on that side of the podium to talk about that because that's not what I'm qualified in talking about. So I feel like we should stick with the cultural resources here on our end. And I'm just providing this as an example.
That was, I think it's really relevant, so I want to say it after your comment, because when I had conversations with Commissioner Johnson, one of his biggest points was not wanting this ordinance to be construed as simply this being conceived as like a natural environment, because his point, which I think is very relevant, is that it's a deeply man-made cultural landscape. And so that needs to be incorporated. I think what you're suggesting is in alignment.
Yeah, all I'm saying, the intent is here and it's good, but I feel like there's some assumptions being made here, and I would love to see it a little bit more articulated overtly, that when we're talking about environmental professionals, when we're talking about ecosystems and so on, and other parts of it as well.
So does that, if you're going to incorporate parts of the built environment into the ecosystem, is there any way that could be construed as protecting perhaps things that have been built that are undesirable?
I'd have to process that for a second, that are undesirable. I mean, what you're looking at is when you're doing these kinds of assessments, you're looking at what is existing, and then you're thinking about what type of impact your project would have on that. So that the existing is not, there, in my experience, there has not been necessarily a judgment on what is existing, or it's just any potential negative impact on that.
Okay.
Am I answering your question?
Yeah, it's not judgmental to what's there. It's really referring to what is being proposed and the effect it would have on what's there.
Right, and these words, negative, potential negative impact, like those are words that are used repeatedly. The fact that this says impact, that's actually like a thing that you explore. And there's these qualified professionals would be able to kind of have those in there. They would say, "What this is would have an impact, but it wouldn't necessarily be negative," things like that, so that they would drill down on it and have it be a little bit more subtle than what we're talking about.
So I could give you a specific example, which would be, let's say there's a wall prohibiting access to a portion of the shoreline that has perhaps been there for 100 years, and it's brick and it's beautiful, and getting to what Attorney Jeff Smith was talking about, which was access and who owns that, the rights to that shoreline, et cetera. If a proposal, I guess, if the proposal is to remove that, then that's its own entity, and if it's doesn't have to do with that, I guess we get back to this. It's not really saying it's good or bad, that wall that I'm talking about.
Right, I mean, if you have something existing like that and it's perceived to be historic, right? And then the proposal is to remove it, that would be a negative impact. Now, whether you believe that the project has a positive outcome, we'll say, is separate from that.
But that's where you can get into like mitigation, where you could potentially.
Right, so then you go into mitigations and stuff. There's a whole kind of world of these environmental impact reports and all the different pieces that they have. But typically, in my experience, environmental impact reports are assumed to include both the natural and the cultural, or natural and built environment. And I couldn't tell from the kind of wording that we were seeing here that was part of it. It may have been part of the intent, but I was just saying that it might be good to have it more explicit.
Okay, I understand what you're saying, and I don't object to to your point then.
Yeah. That way we have these kind of conversations.
One thing I noticed under Section 3, Lakefront Protection Zone Boundaries, it has this introduction that says the Lakefront Protection Zone is established, and then it gives streets, and then it also delineates a whole bunch of parks. My concern is that there are stretches of the lakefront that do not have street names, or like in one specific example is between Dempster and Greenwood. There's a lakefront bike path and gravel parking lot that's technically part of Lakeshore Boulevard, but isn't really a street. And so, you know, it's like, how do we have those like paper street kind of connections included in this lakefront protection zone? Because I understand the intent is to limit it to the lakefront, but you know, there's that awkward situation where Lakeshore ends, and then there's Burnham, and then Forest becomes Sheridan, and then it becomes Sheridan again. So I'm just wondering, if possible, how we would, you know, include those. I mean, possibly just, you know, saying comma and after Lakeshore Boulevard is a way to like.
Is it supposed to cover the contiguous lakefront from like the, you know, the board?
That's my understanding,
So
yes.
maybe contiguous somewhere is put in there to encapsulate that there's no break in this coverage from end to end. I don't know if that would, but I know what you mean. I know exactly that stretch you're talking about too.
I mean, another example is like on Isabella, where Sheridan curves, there was a beach that was located there, and people in the neighborhood used it kind of as their own recreational beach, but then it didn't really have a city designation to it, so then it was essentially sold to private ownership, and there was no, you know, way to like protect that area.
I think the access was sold, maybe.
Or
not
the
beach,
access,
just
okay.
Charles, you might want to put on your,
Yeah. it is.
yeah, so we can hear you.
What's a good entry to what I'd like to say is that the title is hard. Lakefront Protection Ordinance. That allows it to be interpreted a lot of ways, particularly like, you know, what you were saying about cultural artifacts and the built environment. In my mind, those are the things that you want to protect the lakefront from. There's motivation, either financial or otherwise, for those things to come into existence and to exist perpetually, and help to support the loss of biological resources. And I think we're kind of in a position now where the lakefront is, there's not much space that could be interpreted as being the way the lakefront might have looked 300 years ago. Fortunately, there are some places. Unfortunately, they're on private property, and they're beautiful. So the kind of thing that just doesn't address, while it says it will protect as things are, doesn't provide a lot of momentum toward creating habitat, creating spaces where animals and bugs and would have lived in a way a long time ago. Now we have a bird sanctuary that's on the lakefront, and hopefully we're trying to do the same thing with the Jensen Garden stuff. But there's for me there's not enough in here that addresses the importance of preserving what we have, a path toward creating more, but also more of an understanding that while these areas seem to be devoid of wildlife, you'd be surprised at what exists and lives along the lakefront. Everything from coyotes to hawks and owls and a bunch of other beaver and a bunch of other things. That their need to have access to the lakefront is at least as important as my need to have access. And so that's one thing. There's another part that for me addresses the issue of protection is light protection. Light and sound. Those are, to me, are very important parts of the experience of having a lakefront. Unfortunately, Northwestern has constructed some things recently that have just totally destroyed the sense of nighttime, of darkness, an opportunity to experience being surrounded by darkness at night, hearing the sounds, and so on and so forth. So I think I love what's been done. It's a great start, but I think that we have precious little access, and it's going to take more than this to create some of those spaces I talked about. Those are spaces that that I love and miss, but those are the kinds of spaces that I think we have an obligation, having this much lakefront, to somehow bring back into existence for future generations, because it takes a long time to create those things. It took a long time to lose them, and but I think I love the fact that we've gotten this far with this document and this ordinance, and I'm just looking for a little more. So, but anyway, thank you guys for creating
Yes,
this.
thank you. Charles, can I ask you a question? If it weren't called Lakefront Protection Ordinance, what would it be called, do you think?
Ooh, that's a hard question.
I'm specializing in hard questions tonight, evidently.
You could add "and restoration" to that.
Yeah, because that's what you're wanting, right? It's not just protecting what's there, but actually
Well, a
encouraging.
lot of the lakefront is publicly owned parks, and it seems that, I don't know, big rocks, riprap must be really cheap or something. I don't know, but we have a ton of it, that's yeah. But I could see why. I think that there's a lot of competition for a bunch of very precious space, and that a title that would be more effective might be less acceptable.
Did you have some comments that you wanted to?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a great discussion. Been listening, actually on the edge of our seats, listening to your feedback, and just thank you for your supportive words. This has been a long time in the making. Mr. Chair, I know you mentioned the gravel parking lot. That's in there on page 8, section D. And then Commissioner Smith, I know that you had talked about advancing habitat, not just kind of protecting what we already have, but actively moving towards more protection. And we did include that under section G and H, which is pages 6 and 7. I think where we have had somewhat of a challenge is for every step where we've wanted to be a little bit more prescriptive in how we move forward, we also are trying to be mindful that you can be overly prescriptive, and by removing flexibility, perhaps do almost as much damage to the lakefront. So this has been an exercise in striking that balance between prescriptive and flexibility.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And I also wanted to point out, so in G, it talks about introducing native plants, removal of invasive species. It also talks about layered and diverse bird habitats. So I don't know if I just want to make sure I draw your attention to that. It talks about the impact of minimizing artificial lights in section H. So in case that might have been new from the last time that you reviewed this, but I did want to draw your attention to that. And to dovetail a little bit on what Commissioner Davis said, we also want to ensure we get this passed so that we can prevent any future undermining of our beautiful lakefront. And so there is also that balance of we've gone back and forth to ensure we can keep support on the dais so that we can get something passed before we see more eroding and undermining of our lakefront. So a lot of this also, it's been a lot of work to try to move this forward with that in mind. And Commissioner Dreller, I appreciate your comments about the cultural piece. Is there a term that we could add for we have professional, environmental, what do we say? What's the word we use? What page is that?
Page 9.
On page 9.
Right at the top.
Considering impacts, maybe inserting cultural and so on.
Yeah,
impact.
qualified environmental and cultural resource.
Can we use what other professional, could we say?
Cultural resource. Cultural resource.
That would
Yeah.
be an amendment to it that we could make to.
So it would be qualified environmental and cultural resource
And cultural
for
resource, right.
professionals.
Yeah, and then impacts to the lakefront ecosystem, if there's some way to expand that. You could probably leave ecosystem there and just define it,
Define ecosystem.
right? Because I don't think it's in the definitions yet,
Okay. So add-
rather than leaving that up to interpretation. Now, that said, maybe that was strategic. You wanted to leave it up to, so I don't know. That's for you guys who are coming up with the strategy.
I appreciate that. We did want to, and we did incorporate some of the language that you gave us previously about acknowledging the cultural value, and I think we did want to put that. So I appreciate. I think we should add that it's a small piece, but it means a lot, and I think we all agree. Jensen Gardens and many other cultural aspects of our lakefront. And also, Chair Klein, I do think that simply a comma after boulevard and putting the word "and," that makes sure that this is everything in front of, Sheridan Road and east of Lakeshore Boulevard and everything else. So I think a comma and, or I should get my punctuation right. But
I think
that
Commissioner
would,
Ziem brought up the word contiguous lakefront too, if we could.
yeah, you can check. I think this would
Or is it-
cover all that. I'm
Okay,
quite
that's
certain,
fine.
but, or add the word contiguous.
May I ask a question of you or of staff, somebody? Is there a map?
That's what I was going to ask.
Is there a map that shows us, because we're many of us are visual here, that shows us what these words are saying, but
No, but we will make sure we
Right.
have one.
And that can also be part of the assessment as well, but I understand what you're asking for.
So, no, but I mean, the description, I know it's, east of Sheridan Road, east of Lakeshore Boulevard, and then incorporating, it's everything there plus and including what's listed here, like that little stretch behind
Right.
Dempster Street Beach. And I know some of our folks helped me, looking at a Google, driving to make sure we really did get everything covered that's east of Lakeshore and east of Sheridan, plus some of those things mentioned here. So I believe but we could add the word contiguous to be sure.
I would like to see a map too. I
Yeah, the
actually
map-
wrote that down as well.
yeah. So the thing about this, it's great that it's thorough, and so that's wonderful, but it tends to be kind of opaque in that sense when it's like that, and maybe a barrier to access for some people who might not be able to follow the words. And so if we want to open it up for everybody and make sure that different kinds of people are clear on what's happening here, a map might be helpful. And I don't think it would be that hard to do, because you guys have already thought it through so much.
I think you're right. I don't think it's very hard to do.
Right.
Right. I think we can absolutely do that. In fact, I think we could even put a map up but yeah, I think that can be done. And I apologize that we don't have that for you this evening.
I just had one comment too, just to piggyback on what you said, Charles. We do have a lighting ordinance in Evanston. I don't know if people are familiar with that. We actually do have one. And it is that section 2H that you referenced about birds. I mean, would like to see that maybe flushed out and maybe or citing our lighting ordinance maybe, because we do have rules about lights need to be pointed downward. There's rules about light trespass from adjoining properties. So that would be nice to be included or highlighted since we already have it on the books.
Our natural steward, would you like to speak a little bit? I know Leslie's worked on the bird ordinance.
Sorry. So Leslie, I mean, the existing ordinance, though, has an exception for security lighting, which is why people do lighting. So it's completely undermined internally by its reference to security lighting as being an exemption. So it would be good. But when you actually have had, I mean, people actually have come to me trying to get things enforced, you know, their neighbor's light shines, I'm a natural habitat, so they complain about it. And the city says, well, we can't do anything about that because it's security lighting.
Yeah, the security lighting, though, it has to be on a timer. There's certain rules. It has to be pointed.
This ordinance, though.
Not.
No, the ordinance does not say that. It's a carve out for security. So.
No, I think it does say that, actually. We should double check that because I just was talking to the city the other day about that because we were having.
Timers. It does mention timers, yes. Anyway.
Or make it more robust. I mean, like versus like the LED versus sort of the yellower lights. I mean, there's different things you can do. I mean, that light trespass is a really big problem, I think, not just in Evanston, but everywhere. And I think particularly on the lakefront, it could be maybe protected more with this since you're writing it up.
Well, there's a really, I mean, the Dark Sky International has a great template that really is what we should use. I mean, that is much more specific and does not have the carve out for security because obviously, you know, there are ways to define that, you know, I mean, all lighting is basically for security, but you can have timers, you can have, you know, motion detection and other things. And still, basically, the bottom line is that there shouldn't be light trespass. You know, that, you know, if you're trying to protect, you know, your security of your property, then it should be on your property for the most part. So, anyway, yeah.
I didn't know if it wasn't clear to me. Is the city of Evanston and Northwestern both subject to this ordinance?
Yes. The landfill?
Northwestern and, oh yeah, the landfill, not Northwestern, yeah, but yes, and also city parks and city property.
So this is public property, including
property
property subject to public trust in the public property. So all of our city parks, the landfill is.
So that would include the lagoon and the landfill on Northwestern campus as public land, right?
It's explicitly mentioned in here, Chair Klein. And I can find the site for
I remember reading it in here, but yes.
Yeah. It's under U3.
Because
Subsection I.
It is Northwestern University that is an egregious light polluter.
Page 8.
In the city. So it would be, that's why it's important that they are included in this, because if we're going to try to combat light pollution, they are the ones that are the most egregious at it. Because you can see the light pollution all the way down at South Boulevard. You know, it's really bad. The other question I have is how far does the lakefront protection zone go into the lake? Because my question is, in 2013, around then, I think it was Mayor Tisdale and others that were proposing a wind farm out in the lake. And that could potentially change the setting of a historic district. You know, if you're out on the lakefront and you can see open water, but then you see this massive wind farm, would that be part of this or?
My recollection, Chair Klein, is that the wind farm, the proposed wind farm, and I do remember that, would have been at least a couple of miles out. And that would extend beyond Evanston's authority. Did you?
No, I was just going to say it just goes as far as Evanston's jurisdiction.
That's fine. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I had just wanted to bring up what Matthew mentioned in the comments about stakeholders, and if anybody else wanted to comment on the definition of stakeholders and the sort of opt-in plan that they have.
I kind of agree with him that it should be more inclusive and open to everyone other than just property owners along the lakefront, unless, I mean, what do other commissioners think?
Yeah, I agree.
What is some like actionable feedback we can give to this group about that? Do you think? Do you have it? Is that the, what section, guys, is that? I didn't, that
Do you know
wasn't in my
what
notes.
section the stakeholder?
part? Yeah, that's a definition. I think we're looking at, and then there's a reference to how they get notified, but I'm certainly open to putting that in broader language. This was related to people getting notified, like who would get notified, should there be a hearing? So, you know, welcome to suggestions, but where we landed with staff, when we've been working with staff on this, is to add, and anybody who wants to be, basically. So people who have property on the lakefront, and I agree, it feels exclusive, but anybody else who would like to be could be on that list of notification as a stakeholder, as opposed to the entire city being notified. I mean, there'd be public notice.
Right. In that regard, it is, we did try to make it inclusive without trying to divine who actually wanted to be on this list, because you can't predict who wants to be on, who doesn't want to be on. And in that regard, too, it goes beyond just the notification as the city comes up with, say, the baseline assessment and the kinds of resources that would be protected. Anybody who wants to be notified about those educational opportunities would have that ability to learn about them, to understand them, so that this is not just limited to private property owners on the lakefront.
So for instance, I'm reading this language. It says, any resident who requests to be added, so you must be a resident of Evanston? That's a question. Must you be a resident of Evanston?
Yeah, we wanted to draw the line somewhere so that, I'm not being flip, but we didn't want it to be open necessarily to, millions and millions of people and overwhelm the city.
Right. So what about, for instance, the Native American peoples who live elsewhere and who consider this part of Evanston to be part of their homeland?
So, okay, one thing that I would think too is that the museum as an organization could be part of the stakeholder list, and then the museum can notify its members, its constituents, its supporters, wherever they may live. So that might be one way in which to try to strike some kind of a balance here. I wouldn't know how to reach others whose homeland this might have been at some point, generations ago. So you see the quandary it kind of presents. How do you establish such a list?
So
There's actually a pretty well-established list of tribal representatives.
So Evanston is a certified local government, which basically means we have a preservation ordinance, and we can then apply for grants for the State Historic Preservation Office. So as part of a CLG, certified local government, the city of Evanston could notify the State Historic Preservation Office, who then has contact with all those.
No, that's terrific. I think that's a great suggestion. So I would just ask if we can, for the sake of because it's very important, and to continue to progress, can we amend this then to add exactly what you're suggesting, which I think is very important, and then we would vote to amend that at council, and I think that would be well received. So if you could if someone could help with that language, or you could submit it later, but it would be helpful, and then we can. But absolutely, I think everybody would be completely amenable, and glad you pointed that out. So,
Lisa, did you have? Or are you?
So it would.
She's looking at me.
Oh.
Any resident organization abutting the. And then I would say after zone, including any resident organization, including. How about after that, including?
Oh, you're proposing an edit, or any resident.
Any resident or organization, including. Is there language for that?
We could say any resident or group of people who lay claim to the lakefront. or something, right?
Right. I mean, they have, it's not ownership per se, but they feel connected to this place, and they were forcibly removed. So they would be here if they hadn't been forcibly removed. So that's the idea. Well, you were at the meeting.
Yep, I was there. Right, absolutely. No,
Yeah,
I'm
so
with you.
that's what we're,
So any resident or group of people who lay claim to.
So the
Be a joint ancestral.
so the
ancestral, that might be a better way of thinking about it than lay claim. They have, there's language around.
Yeah, so I'll write it, then we can get it, and you're welcome to.
Right, and if any of you have specific language, because this is one of the difficulties we've had, is trying to intuit what people want to see in amendments, but then not exactly getting it right. So if
Well, that's the reason why you're here.
Exactly. So if you have explicit language, that would help us a lot.
I would think that probably the museum would be able to help you with that language and have something that's a little bit more provided by them, because this is,
it gives them agency.
Yep.
Right.
So we'll add that.
Right.
We'll bring that forward to council.
Yeah.
We'll make sure that's added in there, and I'll consult with not the Mitchell Museum, but
The federal term used is entitled consulting parties.
entitled consultant.
That's for like
And then
tribal
you would-
consultations, that the term is
Includes tribal historic preservation officers, the state historic preservation officer,
Entitled
Native American
consult-
tribes.
consulting.
Consulting?
Entitled
Consultant.
consulting parties.
Consulting
Just meaning
parties,
that they get the opportunity to consult on
Okay.
these actions.
No, I appreciate your catching that.
so it would be the kind of people that were at the meeting that we were at with the Ryan Field thing.
Any other comments?
And I wanted to comment on the bird. I think, I was talking with Leslie, I think what we do need is an ordinance, right? I mean, we need a more robust, comprehensive lighting, we need a lighting ordinance. And I think in here, what we can run into if we get too specific beyond saying to reduce the impact of lighting is, I can just foresee that we could end up in getting caught by some existing, because we are grandfathering in, right? So this is the landfill. We absolutely want to reduce that lighting of the light that's glaring off of the structure on the landfill now. Reduce it, but if we get really specific on as to what kind of lighting that gets, I could see that this could get bogged down. But I'm with you, and I do think we need to, and I'd be happy to, once we get this through, work on an ordinance, a robust lighting ordinance. I think we definitely need that.
That'd be
So
good.
thank you.
Yeah, just to clarify, I did look it up though, and the exception for security lighting, it does go on for 5 minutes, like it's a motion thing, and then it has to turn off unless it's changed, I don't know. But this, I'm just reading it, yeah.
Thank you all.
All right, thank you very
Thank you.
much for, any other, Sarah, do you have?
No, we were just I was just making sure, going through my mind of the Native American groups, and there's also CNAR at Northwestern, but maybe perhaps starting with the museum and going from there might be helpful, because that list of tribal representatives is available. Anyway, that's what we were talking about.
Sure. All right, well, thank you very much for coming tonight and presenting this. Like, I'm sure, commissioners, you've shared your comments tonight, but I think we can also potentially draft a letter to then more explicitly write our edits to the, right? Is that what you're looking for, like line edits to the ordinance, or?
I mean, I can also, yes, that would be great if you.
I'm sorry, could you come up to the podium?
So I think the question, do they need a memo from us, or is this
Right.
enough?
So I think what we would really like is your support to know that the council, with those amendments, the ones that we've discussed tonight, and you can forward those to us, that, we would love your support with those amendments. And I think for council, it's really helpful to know where you stand on this in terms of a vote of support or not, to move it forward with the amendments. that you discussed tonight. So
Okay, I'm sorry, what were you asking?
Something we would vote on, that we would
To vote to move,
engage in some process.
sure, I mean, if you want to make a motion to vote to.
Well, we're in discussion right now. Are we allowed to vote on something? Okay.
I mean, it's for discussion, but we could all generally agree that we would move forward on drafting a letter with our edits and then send them to city council.
So I think that that's a little different from what she was asking for. Yeah.
I don't expect this to come back again. So that's why I think it is in line to, at least call for whether it's a straw vote or a vote, so that we know, so that the council can know where the Preservation Commission is on this. But again, with the caveat of including the amendments. That's what I would ask for.
Right, I mean, I think that generally our letter would voice strong support for this long lakefront protection ordinance, and then would have a summary of what we provided tonight, right? Yeah.
I mean, well, I would say yes, but,
that's why I'm proposing it for others to get the reaction, yes?
Yes.
Okay. I think there is consensus to do that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, should we do a straw poll? I mean, I'm a yes. I support it with some of the changes we mentioned today.
Yep.
Okay.
Are we doing a straw poll? Is that what we're
I
doing?
mean,
now?
I've seen.
We've gotten thumbs up from Commissioner
on this
Allman.
side and thumbs up. It's unanimous support, so.
Yeah. So then what was the deadline? Do you guys know? Or for this?
I think they said that they were hopefully getting by June for city council, so.
We hope that this will move forward by June. It'll go to the environmental board at the end of this month for the same sort of discussion and hopefully support. And then June, at the very latest, July. So.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. It's 9:23. Do you all want to continue, or do you want to take a short break? Or, no, you don't? Okay. What about this side? Keep going? Okay.
I'm just going to take a short break for a second.
Okay. That's fine. That's fine. You can. Do we have anyone else that's waiting for this next item on the agenda, or? No. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, I guess we can continue, and Commissioner Dreller can then, if everyone else is fine with continuing, we can continue with the next discussion item, which is at 1103 to 1105 Emerson Street. This came up very last minute last night. The city council kind of has started, they would like our review of the proposed development of multifamily building at 1103 to 1105 Emerson Street. Do you want to provide any other info?
Sure, I can provide a little bit of, my understanding of the request is, if you can look at this map, the green is the property being developed. The immediate adjacent property is the Ebenezer AME Church, which is a landmark. It's probably one of the city's most significant landmarks, I would say. So the request is to, I think it's at least twofold. So it's to understand, are there resulting adverse impacts to that property potentially through the construction itself, and how might those be mitigated? The other aspect of it is, are there aspects of the integrity of the landmark, specifically probably its integrity of feeling, its ability to communicate past time effectively, that are degraded or adversely impacted by the associated construction, and how that might be mitigated through changes to its design potentially. And then I think a little more broadly, just is that is the scale of the structure, is the way it's articulated, is that contextual within its surroundings, which is an exercise that we do regularly on this commission.
And just by way of setting the table, because it's not a landmark the property that we're looking at, and it's not an historic district, are we taking a vote, or what is the result of
No,
our
there's
deliberation?
no vote. It's simply comments, comments on the appropriateness of it, comments on the potential impact of it, and then if you have any recommendations for how those might be mitigated in some way. And I can walk through it. I'm not the most familiar with this project, but I tried really hard today to catch myself up. One of the difficult things are, the types of drawings that we're used to reviewing versus what are here. They're not contextual in any way, so it's difficult to understand context because the drawings are really devoid of their context.
Among other things.
And then just background for why this proposal is in front of City Council in the first place. They're requesting major variations for the project related to off-street parking, rear yard lot coverage, and the allowable density or number of units for the building.
Could you provide context? Are we looking southeast?
You're going to be looking
rendering?
southeast, correct,
And
from
so
the
the
alley.
Church
would
is
be
where the green
And this
is?
parking lot is owned by the church and operated by the church currently.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cade, I did not have time to review this today. Would it be possible for you to summarize what city staff comments were related to the zoning issue specifically?
So they had a series of conditions that they recommended be placed on approval, and I can find those in the memo. Somewhere. Let's see.
Wasn't one of the things parking there? It seemed like there was quite a bit about parking in there.
Yeah, I thought there was a concise summary of the conditions. Let me look. Legislative history section. Let me look.
So are the variances for parking and for height, or?
It's the percentage of the rear yard.
Right.
Height is not.
It's not height, but. Yeah.
It's not height. It's not building lot coverage. I think when I really quickly looked at it, some of the reasons that I think the building gets kind of out of scale are related to the variations for parking and then the rear yard lot coverage, because that's space that the code anticipated being occupied by non-building or accessory building that's now occupied by the principal structure itself. So there's very little portion of the lot that is not covered by the primary structure.
And just kind of, there's like 30 units in here?
There's 30 units total. I think
Parking.
there's 4 or 6 parking
Surface.
spaces.
Yeah, surface parking.
At the rear, and I think the allowable density under the base zoning is 12, and then you would incorporate, there's various incentives offered for meeting the inclusionary housing ordinance that increase that, but the base zoning is 12.
So can you?
Here's the conditions.
Okay.
So lease a minimum of 6 parking stalls from parking facilities with 1,000 feet to ensure that the development provides no less than 10 off-street parking spaces available for use of tenants, visitors, subject property. Residential tenants are prohibited from obtaining on-street residential parking passes. The site plan shall be modified to not exceed the maximum impervious surface coverage of 80% as allowed by the zoning ordinance. And then when I was looking through this too, the 80% also incorporates a inclusionary housing bonus for impervious surface. So, and then if the proposed transformer is required, explore reduction of pavement to the north to increase green space and discourage the use of the area for non-conforming parking. Front yard improvements, landscaping, trash receptacles are permanently stored in exterior subject property. A fenced enclosure will be installed prior to any trimming of trees that encroach on the property. The applicant shall undertake best efforts to coordinate with, that's the property to the east, so not the church.
So I have a question about this construction management plan, because the public comment brought that up, that they were concerned about vibrations of, I guess, when they were demolishing and constructing the new building, that the historic church and potentially stained glass could be affected by that. And I think we brought that up when we reviewed the proposed development next to the university building at the corner of Davis and Chicago, because that was literally inches away from the building. So is that something that would be included in that construction management plan, the monitoring of?
I think those are things that you can recommend. Based on their conversations, I think the vibratory monitoring was something that there was agreement on. I know this commission before has required in instances, monitoring of moisture, having moisture readers, and having video surveillance on foundations and other significant features and characteristics of landmarks to ensure that they're not damaged, or if they are damaged, that there's video evidence of them being damaged through construction for the property owner.
And I'm sorry, what is our job tonight about this building? We're not commenting architecturally.
You can.
Okay.
So it's is what's proposed next to it, does that have some adverse impact on the integrity of the landmark itself? That adverse impact could be a result of the scale of the building or the way that it's articulated, and that it's not sympathetic. That's not disconnected from how we review proposals in a historic district, for example, and that you could make recommendations on how that might be treated more sensitively.
So I just wanted to mention the stained glass windows. I do think that that's something that, unlike the university building, that this is a resource that this part of the building in particular could be especially fragile, could be because stained glass windows tend to be, little pieces. They could be more susceptible to damage as a result of vibration. I do think in public comment early at the beginning mentioned dust as well, and I do think that could be problematic for the stained glass windows. So I certainly would make sure that any plan was very explicit about the stained glass windows in particular. That there's a plan that.
She even used the word projectiles, which I'm not sure what that meant.
Well, construction debris
yeah.
falling down.
Nail guns. There's a lot of stuff can fly.
Stuff flies all over the place on construction sites. Right. And if you have a church across the street that church is even the wrong word, a structure type, a building type that has an especially fragile quality to it, that would certainly want to be something that we would want to see protected. Not just, we're going to do the things, but an actual plan.
Right, so like netting or something that would catch the debris before it.
Yeah, or some kind of, I don't know exactly what it would be, so I don't want to be too.
Right.
Maybe the architects here can be a little bit more explicit about it if there's something in particular that you would want to see for the stained glass windows.
And the potential impact is twofold related as well. So there's the demolition of the two structures And then there's the new construction itself to consider both of those.
In terms of the vibration, vibration and dust.
Correct,
And,
yeah, correct.
And the work involved in hauling away the debris can sometimes cause some problems. That's actually when we've had the most problems in the work that we've had done on our house. It's the coming and going of everything. You know, you back up a truck. And
Is there stained glass on the side? I couldn't tell from the picture. I know the front, but are there on the side of the building in the alley? Is there, or are those just
It looks like it, yes.
some?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're behind protective storms, but it does look, well, some of them are behind protective storms. This one is not.
Okay.
Can I see again the buildings that are going to be removed? Those three?
It's these two, yellow and gray, correct.
How deep is the lot? You showed me. I think it goes all the way back to the other.
Yeah, let me see.
It's almost the entire lot that they're filling with the building, it looks like, except for those parking spots in the alley.
It looks like the lot is 166 feet, if I'm reading that correctly. Yeah, 166 feet.
And
is that 120 the building?
Correct.
Okay.
And again, we're looking at the impact of the demolition and the construction on the historic building.
And the church, and the after the construction is done as well. I think that's the point that Kate made. It's not just a process thing here. It's like, what do we think? Does the construction of this building, the way it is designed and the way it looks, negatively impact the character and the ability of the church to communicate its history and the history of when it was built? And I'm just going to, because it's getting late, and I think it's pretty obvious that it does, to me, inhibit the character of the church, that I would not support the construction of this.
I would agree that it's not very sensitive to the.
And sorry to interrupt and to further channel Stuart, the fact that the way that it's represented without any context, and you know, maybe the people that did these drawings and these renderings didn't know that it was going to be presented in this context, but it, you know, when you take the time to draw the grass field, you could also just make a box that represents the church, and it shows that there's just no consideration of the context.
I mean, the block has, there is a row of row homes that's very nice, you know, with handsome detailing, and it seems very well maintained. And then, you know, you go down the block, and then you're going to see this next to the oldest black church in town. And I think there could be some more sensitivity. Like, I mean, there is, you know, the detailing on this building is very nice. And if the streetscape of that building had something like that, it would have, you know, maintained that identity of that block of row homes. But
I would also submit just the massing, like, you know, it's almost kind of like, I've got to be careful. I want to show respect to my fellow professionals, but it just almost looks like a middle finger.
Like a what?
The front elevation looks like it's giving the middle finger to the city.
Oh, you mean the staircase that?
In the middle, yes, in the middle fifth of the building's facade.
Right.
There is.
So, you know, joking aside, like there could have been more sensitive approach to massing that would allow, you know, the city to achieve its goals of increasing housing density and more sensitively responding to the significance of the site. That'll be my last comment.
So Thomas, so you're not objecting to this large building being here. You're objecting to the way in which it is. Like, can we be a little bit more clear?
Yeah, sorry, I will try to be clear. I think to achieve the city's goals of increasing housing and supporting density, it's still possible to adjust the massing of this building. It might mean that there aren't quite as many units. I mean, it would definitely, I'm carving away some part of the front so that it's not competing visually with such a significant building. reducing the massing at the front.
You know, it
And no middle
almost
finger.
looks to me like there was no attempt at architectural style or presence or quality, that it's a box. And I totally agree that it's so distracting and jarring up against the church that more efforts, it deserves more effort, is my feeling.
You know, it's interesting to look at the church that was preserved and turned into housing at, is it Oak and Church? Was the Sojourner? Sojourner Church? Right. I mean, it's still the church, and then there's housing that kind of tapers up a floor behind it. So that would be something that I would, I recommend looking at.
So I have a little different take on this. Just for context, I was never comfortable with the conversations we had about dictating what somebody could do on the lot next to Francis Willard House. And so, in my view, when you have a landmark property or something that's contributing and that come before us, that's the subject property, that's the one we're analyzing. Talking about what happens on the property next door, if they're building as of right, I don't object to what they're doing, and I don't think it should be part of our purview. Now, in this case, they're asking for 2 variances. In this case, I don't think either of those 2 requests, the aspects of those variances will have a negative impact on the church. Now, the overall look of the church, if we're kind of analyzing it in this sort of form of contextuality, et cetera, it's bland in a kind of Soviet era public housing kind of way. And that's not necessarily bad to me. I'd rather see that than something with a bunch of gobbledygook and neo whatever and trying to be something that it really isn't. So this building could be a lot taller as of right than it is right now. And it could look a whole lot worse than it does right now. I think the rendering is really not helping its case, and in particular, as you've all brought up, that you don't see it in its context. But I have a different take on contextualism than a lot of other folks, and I don't object to this building as it's being designed. I do think that we need to make a strong statement on the construction management and the potential impact on it. I'm just going to bleed into that for a second. I think that we should urge that there be a mutually agreed upon construction plan that between the church and the developer. And there's a second part of this. I think that there needs to be a mutually agreed upon report of the existing conditions of the church, so that there is no debate about what may or may not have happened, and probably the builder, if they want this project, should pay for that. So those are my comments on this.
I would agree that we need to look at the aspects of the zoning, because that seems to be the kind of the hardship the thing they're asking for. I don't necessarily have a problem with the rear yard setback, but the number of units is causing the mass. Mm-hmm. So yeah, they could do 80 feet, but you're not going to get the number of units. So I haven't looked at the zoning of this, but I don't see, if they're already asking for more units than is as of right, then 80 feet is kind of, maybe so you could do an 80-foot office building or something, but you're not going to get 80 feet of units if they're already asking for more units to do this. So I would say that aspect of the zoning, there needs to be maybe some calibration and some moderation of the desire for density and housing with the impact on the existing city.
Are they asking for more units than in the variance?
They are.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't, the specifics of what they get to with the IHO bonus units, I'm not sure exactly what that is, but they are requesting 30 units. I can look it up, but they are requesting a density variation.
So, yeah. May I ask a question? And forgive me if I missed it when I was out. But why is this commission talking about the variances part?
Yeah, my only take on why that's relevant is if it results in some physical output that is that it has an adverse impact. So if the reason the scale and the bulk of the building is not appropriate or has an adverse impact on the structure is because of the zoning, then I think it's relevant. But otherwise, I would agree with you that I don't.
Yeah, so we're not starting with the zoning, we're starting with the scale, the massing, the et cetera, and then we're moving to the why of that.
Well, listen, it's not a landmark building that's being removed, and it's not a historic district.
Right.
They ask for our opinion. They ask for our opinion. So I think we can give them our opinion. And we don't have to be as Catholic about, applicable standards. Like we're
No, I'm not a
panel of experts,
Yeah,
and
no.
they've asked for our opinion, and we just can give it to them.
When we talked about the street, many months back, when we talked about the streetscape projects, we did talk quite a bit about adjacent buildings and about the overall view on what things looked like. And I think, like you said, we're not going to vote on the architectural aspect of anything. This is, and my perspective is more visual than anything. I'm a landscape person, right? So, and that's what I'm looking at is what I have to see when I drive down the street, what people in the church have to see. I'm not saying don't build on the site. I'm not saying don't build that building on this. Well, I'm saying don't build that building on the site. But my comment, my feeling, is that it could be, it just could be more attractive and more compatible with the surroundings that it's going into. That's it for me.
And just for clarity, if I'm reading this correctly, the density variation is they're requesting 24, where 12 are allowed otherwise.
I just for the record, want to echo Thomas. Everything you said, I agree with. I think the massing, it's too big for that street, especially given the low rises that, extend from one end to the other. I don't think it's sympathetic to the church next to it. I do think there should be a construction plan in place to protect things like the stained glass windows, which I think are important and would be very hard to repair or replace. So preferably something to prevent damage rather than like repair later. But yeah, if council is asking our opinion, I also think there is probably something better that could go on that lot. That's more suited to the area.
So can I just describe like the normal scenario when you are trying to make something more sympathetic on the streetscape, and that's the storefront level or low rise on the front elevation and then rises up towards the back? Would that be more palatable for everyone?
Yes, that's what I was talking about. Yeah.
Okay.
So I agree with everyone what they're saying, but I'm also concerned about the church and the parking, because the church has the parking and there's 4-6 spots for 30 people. That tells me maybe they're taking public transportation. It's a very unbecoming front for people to hang out in. So the designers need to kind of figure out where these people are going to park and where are the people going to hang out waiting for public transportation or anything. Because when you drive down Emerson, it goes from 2 lanes to 1 lane. There's buses there's everything. It's very congested. And I think this is going to add to it. And I think it's a concern of the cities.
I think part of their logic on the parking is that they're intending this to be at least 50% Northwestern students. So that's part of their sort of game plan here.
I thought this was subsidized housing.
It's not like a low-income housing project or something. It's not subsidized in any way. They're only providing a certain number of inclusionary housing units, 6, I believe. 3, maybe 3. I should go back and double check. Maybe it's 3.
This is kind of a test case for the proposed upzoning that we're hearing about and our, as a commission's taste for these kind of changes, because they're asking for a humongous reduction in required parking, which is not just something that's happening or may not be happening in Evanston, but statewide. We're hearing all kinds of thoughts on that topic. And then they're talking about increasing the number of dwelling units on a lot than would ordinarily be allowed.
I think, it normally doesn't it's not usually part of a discussion or consideration of a project, but this specific block has witnessed so much erasure over time. The Emerson Y, that was a huge institution to the Black community, was located on this block. It's no longer there. The Butler Building, which was an Evanston landmark that City Council then voted to demolish, is no longer there. So this is a community that has been over time slowly eroded, and this is just 3 more buildings that are going to be erased from that history. And I understand we want to move and we want to have progress, we want to house people, but we also have to take that into consideration of the people that still live there, that still worship at this church, that,
This probably doesn't have any. Oh, I was going to say, I just noticed here that when the Land Use Commission recommended approval of the zoning application, 3 voted yay, 2 voted nay, but 4 commissioners were absent. So basically, 3 out of 9 people vote for approval of this particular. I think that's what I'm reading, but yeah, I think. I think he was might have been on the commission. And I don't know what they were thinking when those votes happened, but doesn't sound like they were really excited about it. Is that right?
So we're talking, yeah, I don't. So just to bring it back. What?
But 4 people were absent.
Right. Yeah, but they had a quorum, so, right? They had a quorum of 5?
No.
Yeah, they must. 9
right.
members, so they'd have a quorum.
Yeah, they
of
had
5.
a quorum of 5, and the majority of that voted in favor. So I guess that's how it works. I feel like I'm hearing a few of the same things. One is the massing, but it could have a little bit more of not a sort of blocky kind of thing, but a softer quality to it. I agree with John in his descriptor that it does have a Soviet type of quality about it. To me, it looks a little bit like what we sometimes get in architecture school, like a little bit of a machine, like you take the kit of parts that's provided by CAD and kind of put it in there. It doesn't feel intentional.
It's a SketchUp design.
Yeah, it feels, it doesn't feel intentional, and it sounds to me like this is a really special building next door for a whole lot of reasons, but there's a lot of emotion involved in that, and I would like to see something here, if we're being asked our opinion, that just feels a little bit more like somebody took a beat to think about this.
So can we come up with a list of things that they're asking for our opinion, like a recommendation? So I would just like to say for the 3rd time, less mass at the front. There's like 2 or 3 story buildings. The front facade shouldn't be any taller than the buildings to the west, to the east of it. And that can step back, maybe relatively quickly before it goes up to capture the number of units that they need to. And a more, I'll leave it there.
I think that what that would do is allow the church to have priority. right now, this building is competing with the church. But if we say, okay, the church, this particular building across the street is the most important thing. So this has something about this has to yield. And I think what Thomas is describing is a way of doing that.
And do we want to say anything specific about the 3 variances? Parking, percentage of the rear yard eaten up, and the number of units? That's why it went to Land Use Commission and the
So
council.
I would personally say I'm fine with no parking. I think that's where things are probably going to go. People will disagree. We can talk about it really quickly. The rear yard setback, I don't have an issue with that, especially if it allows the massing to decrease at the front without further reducing the number of units. But I think there's got to be a little bit of a trade-off between density and the character. It's just as simple as that.
The one concern, I kind of agree with what you're saying, but the one concern I have is that with such a big, tall mass in the back, the remaining townhomes that do have rear yards would then be completely denied of western light, kind of.
Right, but I mean, to John's earlier point, if an 80-foot building is allowed, let's be kind of reasonable, I guess.
It's also on the alley, so it's not like it's blocking.
Right.
It's not in the middle of the block where it would just be very aggressive. It's on the alley, so it's holding the alley line a little bit. So, and Tom, to be clear, you're not talking about adding mass in the back in order to compensate for.
No. I'm just saying that they're asking for a rear yard setback relief, and I'm saying I'm fine with that because that's going to give them more volume to pack in the units. But they shouldn't be allowed to do that at the front of the building.
Yeah,
because it's competing with the church.
Which ties into your point of yielding to the primary structure, yeah.
Do you have any comments related to how that side elevation is articulated? Since that's the visual relationship would then be most closely related to the church.
Question first. Do we know what these, obviously there's brick, but are we looking at like
I think it's
8-foot hardy panel or something?
I think it's an ephes composite stucco. Yeah.
And the banding is?
I want to say it's brick, but I don't know. It is rendered differently, so I'm not guaranteed. It could be a stained ephes, perhaps.
Stucco color B.
You know, I think there's just a general problem with the presentation. This is, you can't, the decks, they look like decks out in front, but you can't really tell. Is that a elevator in the front or what type?
That's a staircase.
The stair, yeah.
No, that's a stairwell. There's, it's not very well presented, so that's one problem. So
there's a famous, very famous factory from architectural history in Germany going back years ago that this reminds me a little bit of. It's a less sophisticated version of that. Looks. But you were asking specifically about the side, the alley face. Would you mind putting the photograph of the church up again? Yeah.
Yeah, and this is the church's parking lot. It's not the alley.
Oh, so I'm sorry. I've been misspeaking. So I meant that part. So if you just scoot over a little bit so that we can see. Yeah. Can we? So that's what. No, on the left, that's the side of the church that's going to be. Yeah. Thank you. So that's what this building is going to be facing. That's the question that you were asking.
I'm just thinking in terms of what makes it culturally significant when you are sitting in that sanctuary space and looking out of those windows. How is that impacted?
Yeah.
And how could that be reduced?
I mean, normally that wouldn't be a primary facade along the side, but because it's so visible from the street, I would kind of consider it to be one. And, it's like how with buildings, you have the face brick that's on the front, and then you have just the common brick that runs, or running, along the side, I think there could be some more attention to like giving it more of a wrap around appearance that would give it that, because right now it reads as a secondary elevation that's just pretty plain.
Right, but it's actually the other front facade rather than the secondary facade.
Yeah.
One of the things that the church does is break up its mass.
Vertically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we could suggest a little bit more of the breaking up of that volume as well in some form, even if it's very modest, kind of some kind of narrow back and forth or something to at least break it up a little bit.
And if you go to the street view and go across the street to E2. I mean, they have but they have the street duplexes that are scaled down.
Right.
And then they have a nice entrance, a two-story entrance. It's a lot more exciting. But again, that's not our job to design this.
Are you right there? Is that what? Yeah.
Yeah, so here they're breaking the volumes. It's stepping back, breaking it up a little bit. We're not talking about huge chunks, just kind of giving it a little bit of profile and texture as opposed to a single flat, planar, that's your language, Tom, kind of articulation or lack of articulation.
What's amazing is that brick building on right almost across the street from it, which I happen to have been involved in building that thing, started off as something almost unacceptable, but doesn't look so bad now.
Well, and the building to the west of the church,
Mhm.
brick building, but it has a nice brick cornice.
Mhm.
So
In other words, there's some context. Oh, I'm sorry.
Do we want to get into specifics on the height of the front facade? I'm looking at the height of the church. Do we think 2 or 3 stories max on the front?
Yeah, I mean, I think for the purposes of this conversation, 2 or 3 stories gets the point across that 5 right at the front is too much.
Okay. Have we given enough input on at least the design?
I think so.
Okay, and then does everyone sort of agree with this 2-part construction impact strategy that there needs to be a mutually agreed upon plan and a mutually agreed upon assessment of the existing conditions of the church? Okay.
Yeah. So how would we convey that to council? Is it another?
Just that.
So Kate, are they expecting a letter from this body? So like you Carl, maybe somebody writes a letter and.
I think the turnaround is so quick that they'll probably just insert the video recording is my guess with a brief summary. I don't think I'll do a full separate memo, but I'll probably include the video clip and then a summary of the conversation, like a single paragraph probably.
And you feel like you've got the sense of what the.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay. All right, so with that, were there any edits to the minutes? Okay, so with no edits or changes to the minutes of April 14 and seeing no, yes?
You want to make a proclamation about Willard?
Sure, but I was just going to do the minutes first. With no objection, the minutes are approved, and so at City Council, the City Council voted 8-1 to landmark Willard School. So congratulations. It's the first landmark designation in about a decade. So congratulations. And with that, we can adjourn.